Chapter 588. Many people were gathered in a building that looked like it belonged to the Western world. Their bodies and faces were no different from Lin Fan's side. Only their equipment and control of power were different. An old man wearing a robe and holding an old staff said solemnly, "The new blood food world has opened. To those evil gods, they have a new target. St. Hall exists to fight against evil gods, and we need new helpers. I order all of you to enter the new blood food world and see whether or not it has transcendent power." The old man was the protector of St. Hall and also the teacher of all the transcendents below. He helped them comprehend transcendent power. Yes, a bunch of transcendents wearing armor with holy patterns on them replied. The power fluctuations they gave off were different from Lin Fan's. If one had to point out something similar, it would be the power of faith. Rich land, blood food world. In a small city not far from the Forbidden CCI, there were fewer people here than in those big cities. At the same time, it was one of the few places that could avoid war when the four alliances occupied the land. Suddenly, the livestock in the city became impatient. The dogs that guarded the house barked and wanted to break free from their chains. They bared their teeth and barked towards the distance like they had met a strong enemy. What is going on with the livestock? Why are they all like crazy? Did they get swine flu? How can dogs get swine flu? At most, chickens will get chicken flu. Although the commoners were curious, they didn't care much about this matter. If Lin Fan saw such scenes, he would definitely roar. If the livestock were uneasy, there would be a disaster. Why didn't they pack up and run? An earthquake was about to arrive. Maybe this was the importance of knowledge. But unfortunately, they didn't. In this small city, with only a few tens of thousands of people, they didn't expect that danger would cover their heads. Kacha! The chain that bound the dog broke, and the dog ran wildly, quickly escaping into the distance. But suddenly, the dog saw its strong owner farming in the field, and immediately ran over. Woof, 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 they roared in a heart-wrenching manner. "Master, run! Danger was about to arrive." "Afu, why are you here? Who untied it for you?" The man stopped what he was doing and wiped the sweat off his forehead. He was quite curious. He naturally did not think that Fu would be the one to break the chains. After all, they were chains. Afu shouted and bit his master's trousers, signaling him to run. "Afu, what happened to you today?" The man frowned and was a little displeased. In the past, Afu was very obedient and never caused trouble. Why did he like to cause trouble now? The gray aura in the air slowly eroded the small city. The commoners who breathed in the gas didn't feel any pain. They swayed and fell to the ground. Then, their bodies started to twitch as if they were possessed by ghosts. Afu was very anxious. He bit his master's finger. "Afu, you!" The man was furious. When the surrounding farmers saw this scene, they immediately burst into laughter. "Didn't you always say that Afu is very obedient? Now, he even dares to bite you, his master. I think I should quickly kill him and eat him tonight." The man was furious. He picked up his shovel and chased Afu. As he chased, he scolded, "You animal, I will beat you to death." Afu ran crazily in front. He would turn his head and bark. At the same time, due to the fear of danger, his body trembled. The man chased closely and ran for a long distance. But when he turned his head, he noticed that his neighbors who were farming all fell to the ground. He was instantly stunned. What was going on? This was just the beginning. He noticed that the surrounding crops were withering at a visible rate. At that moment, even if he was a commoner who had never seen the world, he knew that it was dangerous. He screamed and ran with Afu. That night, this small city was really weird and really quiet. Instantly, the space in the black night sky started to shake. A weird pattern appeared on the ground, and then many people appeared out of nowhere. There were a total of 4 of them. Looking at their attire, there were 3 guys and 1 girl. The guy was wearing armor, and the girl was wearing female armor. She held a staff similar to the one in the building. "This city has been corroded. Be careful. Evil god Lula's negative energy can turn these people into corpses." The guy who spoke was really tall. He held a giant sword and looked around warily. "Mach, who do you think couldn't resist the temptation and open the blood food world seal?" Evil god Lula is one of the toughest to deal with. If this world doesn't have transcendence, then his fate will be really tragic. Another guy holding two swords said. His eyes were like a bright lamp that could see the monsters hidden in the darkness. Evil god's aura spread all around, and it makes one want to vomit. The only girl frowned. She waved the staff in her hand, and a light appeared beneath her feet. It spread out and chased away the evil god energy on their bodies. Suddenly, in the distance, there seemed to be a black mass of strange things walking towards them. Be careful, it is time to fight. These are normal people, and they can't take the evil god's aura. They will turn into mindless corpse demons. Mock placed his sword in front of him. They were used to such situations. In the past, they had experienced things that were even more terrifying than this. Pung pung. At that moment, many corpse demons surged over from all directions. They looked slow, but they knew that this was just on the surface to confuse the enemy. If they really thought that the beings corroded by evil gods were so simple, then they would pay a heavy price. Isn't there too many? If the humans in this world aren't transcendents, then even if we want to save them, we won't be able to. We might even have to face a terrifying number of enemies. The man with the two swords was called Ire, and he was a member of the Sanctum. Although he was young, he could only live to about 40 years old after borrowing the power of other evil gods. Of course, there was a way to extend his life, and that was to deepen his connection with the evil gods. This was the reason why they were able to survive until now in the hands of so many evil gods, even though they were in the blood food world. When the originally slow corpse demon was about to approach these people, its speed suddenly increased, turning into a series of afterimages. The only woman angrily shouted. She slammed her staff on the ground, causing the ground to flicker with some kind of glowing pattern. Then, beams of light shot up from the ground and scattered the corpse devils. Many of them didn't even have time to scream before they were vaporized into ashes. These corpse demons had their flesh and blood sucked away by evil god Lula, and only their black skeletons were left. Now, not even their skeletons were left. It was really tragic. The man with the huge sword, Mock, shouted angrily. He leaped up and raised the huge sword in his hand before slamming it down on the ground. Instantly, the ground cracked. The explosive power penetrated the ground and killed a group of corpse demons. Clear out these dirty things. If they are allowed to develop, they will continue to spread the evil god's tainted land. More living beings will suffer irreversible disasters. Mock wiped out another wave of corpses and said solemnly, "Who knew how long passed?" For injured figures fled from the small city in a sorry state. Only when they stopped chasing did they pant and say in fear, "I didn't expect an evil god-infected body to appear." It is also a rare person who can pollute one's mind. Mock was astonished. He really didn't expect that such a person would appear in a small city. The infected person they saw was a giant skeleton formed from numerous corpse demons. They didn't look like a human, and they gave off evil god energy. If they hadn't run fast, the outcome would have been catastrophic. Air said, "What should we do now? Should we head back to St. Hall to report the situation here? We need to send stronger experts to wipe them out. With our strength, even if we wipe them out, we will be infected by evil god energy." Mock said, "There is no rush. We have wiped out enough corpse demons, and it won't affect the outside world much. We have more important things to do now, which is to see whether or not there are any transcendence in this blood food world. And now, even the evil god's infected body has appeared. I'm worried that this infection will contaminate the minds of other living beings and build an evil god's passageway. If that's the case, then this world without extraordinaires will be split up by the evil gods in an extremely short time." This was what Mock feared the most. Luckily, the experts in St. Hall were fighting with evil gods, and they restricted many of them. If not, not only would evil god Lula come to Blood Food World, but there would be many more. At that time, there would be no way to turn the situation around. Hayes, what a pitiful Blood Food World. Without transcendence, even with our help, they won't be able to escape the fate of being swallowed by evil gods. The world they were in was also a blood food world, and they had fought with evil gods for a long time. Many experts died to evil gods, and many used their power to be infected. They became their subordinates or killed themselves to end their lives. Within a certain cave, the evil god statue became lively. He sensed the aura he liked the most. That was the corruption power of evil god world. Although it was thin, it couldn't escape his sensitive sense of smell. But the moment he opened the tunnel, evil god Lula noticed this place, which annoyed him. It was as if someone had snatched something from him. But with his current strength, it was tough for him to snatch what he wanted from the hands of other evil gods. The next day, Lin Fan woke up and felt refreshed. He felt like his entire body had improved. He saw that Yongle was still resting. She must have been tired last night, so he didn't disturb her. He put on his clothes and pushed the door open. He wanted to take in a deep breath, but his heart froze. He looked into the distance. There was something going on there. Chapter 589. Someone is just being restless. Does he want to disturb my peaceful life? Lin Fan frowned and muttered to himself. He was satisfied with his current life and didn't want it to be destroyed. Even if he didn't fight and fight, it was still fulfilling enough. Truthfully, he didn't like those days. Although it was interesting, running around and searching for people was just too problematic. Gozi, Lin Fan shouted. Young master, what is the matter? Gozi appeared right away. Tell madam and father that I am heading out. I will be back in a short while. Lin Fan said. Gozi didn't know what young master wanted, but thinking about how there wasn't any danger, he nodded his head. Lin Fan stepped into the dimension and headed into the distance. He had rested for half a year, and now he had things to do. It really made him feel helpless. If it was the sect leaders of the four alliances, he would definitely smash their heads. Why didn't they just hide? Why did they have to do such things? Their brains had holes in them. A long while later, this is the place. Lin Fan walked out from the dimension. The aura in the air is a little off. Lin Fan frowned and noticed that the darkness god domain was absorbing the aura and merging it into the god domain. Although it was thin, Lin Fan noticed that the god domain seemed to like it. But that wasn't the main point. The main point was, why would there be such an aura here? Lin Fan landed on the ground and noticed that the wild grass on the ground had withered. On closer look, not only did it wither here, but all the plants around had withered too. Which bastard cultivated such an evil technique? He didn't even let nature go. That is a little too much. During this half a year, due to Yongle's influence, he loved plants and flowers. So, he couldn't bear to see such actions. Lin Fan was prepared to investigate and see what was going on. This matter was really weird, and there was definitely a problem. He had to investigate. Otherwise, who knew what would happen? I'm a step too late. In another city, Mok looked at the evil god mist that covered the city, and his heart shook. Along the way, they searched for transcendence in this world, but regretfully, they didn't find any. The people they met were all normal people who were infected by the evil god energy. To them, if there were transcendence, they definitely wouldn't ignore them being killed by evil gods. Right now, when they arrived at the city and saw the situation around them, they knew that they were too late. Evil gods' aura spread too quickly and covered this place. The gloomy and quiet environment made them feel extremely uneasy. The evil god tunnel has been built, and we have to destroy it. Otherwise, the maggots will descend here, and it will be a disaster for the blood food world. Evil god will obtain large amounts of flesh and blood and become stronger. St. Hall will face more pressure. Mok said. Then, his expression became extremely solemn. Destroying the evil god tunnel is extremely dangerous. After entering, be prepared to die. Everyone nodded and made their preparations. As the bravest warriors of the divine sanctum, they were naturally not afraid of death. At the same time, they were glad that the divine sanctum had sent them out. If they had sent the weaker ones, they would have died when they encountered Lula's infected body. Compared to destroying the evil god's tunnel, everything else wasn't important at all. Let's go in. Be careful and stay hidden. Don't get into a conflict with the infected. Otherwise, we will attract more infected. When that happens, it will be extremely difficult to destroy the tunnel, Mok said. Understood. To build the evil god tunnel, we need numerous infected people to contribute evil power to stabilize it. Let's hope that we can make it in time. It would be best if their evil power ceremony has just started. At that moment, under the girl's spell, everyone entered stealth mode. Maybe they couldn't hide in front of nightmare-grade monsters, but the corpse demons definitely wouldn't notice their existence. After Lin Fan noticed the problem here, he wasn't in a rush to return. He had to investigate what had happened. If he had to choose, he would choose Evil Alliance and Monster Alliance. Only they would do such disgusting things. If Evil Alliance and Monster Alliance knew what Lin Fan was thinking, they would definitely roar in rage. F*CK. Can you have some shame? Can you stop framing people for no reason? Do you know how we've been living for the past half a year? We smashed those doors so badly that we wanted to die. In the end, we smashed it open and these things still popped out. They continued forwards. Lin Fan saw two people in the distance, one human and one dog. Weird, there were actually people in the wilderness. But when he saw the situation, he realized that the situation wasn't right. How was that a human? It was just a pitch-black skeleton. Oh my God! Monster Alliance, Evil Alliance, what are you doing? How did you turn people into this? Lin Fan pushed the blame onto the two alliances once more. He was innocent. The man and dog noticed Lin Fan and struck him. Lin Fan didn't attack and just grabbed the skeleton, allowing its hands to grab onto his body. It was like he was scratching an itch, and he didn't feel anything at all. Lin Fan fiddled with the skull of the skeleton and looked at it carefully. He didn't find anything wrong with it, but he could sense that there was a strange aura attached to the skeleton. It is similar to the source aura of the Darkness God domain, but the characteristics are different. Did it come from the same place? Lin Fan guessed. He didn't have a deep understanding of the Darkness God domain, but the aura on the skeleton was similar to that of the Darkness God domain, which made him suspect where it came from. He casually dealt with the two skeletons and continued forwards. After a long while, he realized that the ground was shaking. There was a really evil and dark aura spreading over. The aura contained a really infectious negative power. What is that? Lin Fan raised his head and noticed that the sky was pitch black. There was a giant shadow that was heading over at a quick speed. In the distance. Damn, we are too late. I didn't expect that evil god Lula's most disgusting servant, Tiz, would descend. Mach and the others fled in panic. They weren't able to fight him at all. The woman holding the magic staff muttered as she waved her magic staff. Immediately, the air seemed to be controlled and turned into countless wind blades that shot towards the other party. However, even though the wind blades left countless wounds on the other party's body, they healed in the blink of an eye. Air was unwilling. It seems like our plan has failed. The evil god tunnel has been established, and the one that appeared is evil god Lula's servant, Tiz. We have no chance of winning at all. If we don't flee, we won't even have a chance of living. Don't hesitate. Use the teleportation formation. Let's leave and head back to report. Wait, there's a living human there. Just at that moment, Air noticed Lin Fan in the distance. He didn't know who Lin Fan was and just treated him as a normal human. In this world without transcendence, normal humans were the evil god's food. They were so weak and pitiful. I will bring him away. All of you build the teleportation formation, Mach said. He then sped towards Lin Fan. Normal human, don't be afraid. We are here to save you. That dirty monster is really scary, and if he catches you, you'll die a horrible death. Mach was afraid that he would be afraid and shouted. Just as Mach was about to get close to Lin Fan, he was stunned. Lin Fan reached out and grabbed his neck. There was nothing else. He didn't grab him, and instead, he was grabbed. He struggled, but he was too strong, and his palm didn't move at all. Mach. Everyone saw that Mach was suppressed and ran over to save him. But Mach raised his hand and said with much difficulty, "Don't come over." He looked towards Lin Fan. Transcendence. We aren't bad people. Your world is being invaded by evil gods, and we are here to help you. Can you release me first? Lin Fan frowned and was confused. Transcendence? Evil god? He looked at what they were wearing, and they didn't look like people from this world. The patterns on their armor were foreign, and at the same time, They gave off a mysterious power that he could sense. Lin Fan released him and looked towards the giant monster behind him. Was everything he had seen caused by this fellow? Let's leave. This is evil god Lula's servant, Tiz. He is really strong, and we are no match for him. Once we escape, I will tell you the exact situation. Mok said hurriedly, "You bunch of weak people who borrow the power of evil gods. You actually dare to use the power of evil gods to fight against us. You really deserve to die." Tiz's voice made one want to vomit. Maybe it was because his voice contained some negative power. Lin Fan had never seen such a monster. Its body was like jelly. It was totally red and fresh blood dripped off. Numerous tentacles grew out of its dark red body, and there were many suction cup-like mouths that kept opening and closing. This monster had no face, no nose, no eyes. It was a red meatball with a never-ending mouth and a circle of sharp teeth. "Who are you? This world is my territory. You dare to cause trouble here? Do you want to die?" Lin Fan hollered in rage. Damn, he had just rested for half a year, and such a disgusting person actually appeared. Who knew where they came from? Small ant, you were wrong. This is evil god Lula's blood food world. All of you are his food. His voice was really weird. Normal people wouldn't even be able to stand properly when facing such a monster, much less communicate with him. Mok and the others looked at one another. Their eyes were filled with terror. What was going on with this blood food world transcendent? He actually didn't know fear when facing such a terrifying Tiz. Only those ancient existences from St. Hall could defeat Tiz. Chapter 590. Blood Food World. Lula? What kind of nonsense is this? Looks like you will only become obedient after I suppress you. Lin Fan stared at him. Even if he looked disgusting, he didn't care. He hadn't seen many disgusting beings, but since he could use bug controlling technique to merge with the bugs, why would he be afraid of this thing? The moment he said this, Tiz laughed coldly. To Mok and the others, when they heard this, they shuddered. It was like a seed of fear had sprouted in their hearts. With their strength, they weren't enough to face evil god Lula's servant Tiz. If Tiz wasn't faster than them, they would have been instantly killed. Small thing, your courage makes Tiz happy. Only courageous blood food can bring joy to the noble Tiz. It has been too long, too long. Looking at the entire abyss, only an ant like you dares to say such arrogant words to the noble Tiz. Your body is as small as an ant. In front of strength and size, you have no chance of winning. Tiz was the ruler of the old era. He faced some strong evil gods, and in front of that bottomless abyss-like power, he placed down his pride and glory and willingly became the evil god's slave. But in front of ants, he would always be a lofty and aloof ruler. The current situation wasn't something that Mok and the others wanted to see. Transcendent, maybe if we flee now, we might be able to make it. Mok swallowed his saliva. Since he obtained transcendent power, he had faced many evil god slaves, but this was the first time he faced one that was close to an evil god. To not pee on the spot meant that he was really courageous. Air's sword-wielding hands were trembling. As for that girl, she prepared the teleportation formation. If the situation wasn't right, she would leave right away. Actually, she wanted to leave right away, but Mok didn't. This made things tough for her. Kiki suddenly. They heard Lin Fan's soft voice. At such a time, he could actually laugh. Wasn't he just too brave? Lin Fan slowly walked toward the other party. Evil god, you came to my territory to cause trouble and act so arrogantly. I've been meditating for half a year, so I've long since calmed down. But now that I've met an ugly thing like you, I'll definitely beat you into a demonic dog. With every step he took, Lin Fan's aura started to rise. Tiz let out a weird sound, but he still didn't care about Lin Fan. Lin Fan's aura had indeed become stronger, but it was still within his acceptable range. Mok, let's go. There's nothing we can do. It's impossible to save him in front of Tiz, the woman said. When Mok reacted, he realized that the man had walked up to Tiz man. This blood food world transcendent was so weak in front of Tiz that he wasn't even as weak as an ant. Ace, it seems like that is the only way. I can understand his actions. They don't know how terrifying evil God is, and he also doesn't know how terrifying evil God Lula's servant, Tiz, who used to rule the old era, is. Merc had no choice but to give up on saving him. Otherwise, not only would he not be able to save him, but he would also put them in grave danger. The woman waved her staff, and a teleportation circle appeared. Just as they were about to leave, something shocking happened. Size? Despicable, stupid thing. Lin Fan hollered in rage. At that moment, a terrifying storm that seemed like it could rip apart heaven and earth exploded from Lin Fan's body. The extremely terrifying aura shook the land, and even the sky was shaking. What about now? Lin Fan used the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth, and his body swelled to 100,000 feet tall. A terrifying aura covered the entire area. Tiz now looked a little small in front of Lin Fan. Tiz didn't have eyes or a face, so it was impossible to see his eyes or his expression. However, the tentacle that was swaying in the air suddenly stopped for a moment. It seemed to express the shock in Tiz's heart. Mach and the others were stunned, and their eyes opened wide. They were just thinking that the blood food world transcendent was finished, but in the blink of an eye, such a change happened. It shocked them so much that they didn't know what to say. Mach said gloomily, "Superhuman? No, this isn't a transcendent. This is a god." To them, perhaps only a god could explain the current situation of the other party. Quang Dang. Air's swords fell to the ground. He opened his mouth and raised his head. Even then, he still couldn't see the end of the giant. It was like a god had descended to fight the evil god. Despicable? Who is the despicable one now? Lin Fan asked. Tiz was only as tall as his knee. The terrifying aura pressed down on Tiz and made him feel really bad, like his body was being suppressed. How is that possible? Tiz was filled with disbelief. How can there be such a person in the blood food world? Shortly after, Tiz was furious. How can such a person appear in the small blood food world? You have strength comparable to the noble evil god. This shouldn't have appeared. Lin Fan was lazy to say more. He raised his leg and stepped towards Tiz. To Tiz, it was like the sky was covered in darkness. A sharp scream spread forth. The suckers on Tiz's tentacles gave off a black glow like a black hole. Terrifying dark matter power exploded, and he wanted to fight Lin Fan to the death. But when the power smashed on a Lin Fan's leg, it didn't do anything at all. Punk! Lin Fan stepped down, and instantly, Tiz was smashed into smithereens. Fresh blood dyed the ground, but it seemed like the blood was poisonous. The ground started to sizzle as it was corroded, but all of that wasn't important. Despicable thing, you didn't even ask whose territory this is and dare to behave so arrogantly. You were just asking to die. Lin Fan was unhappy. He was used to his peaceful days. Naturally, he couldn't take it when someone suddenly came to cause trouble. Just at that moment, Tiz's crushed flesh moved and then revived in front of Lin Fan. Damn, you can't kill me. I am the ruler of the old era. I can't die and can't be killed. Tiz hollered. His rage burned. Even if the blood food in front of him was strong, he didn't fear it. That was because he couldn't die, so he didn't fear anything. Mach shouted, "Sir God, Tiz is the ruler of the old era, but his undying ability has been taken away. He only has the ability to revive with flesh and blood. As long as his flesh and blood are wiped out, he won't be able to revive anymore." Their ancestors had sacrificed their lives for these discoveries. Is that so? Lin Fan was really interested in these monsters. He thought that they were undying, but now it seemed like they weren't. But his words were interesting. His undying ability was taken away. Did that mean that he was undying before? But all of that wasn't important anymore. Despicable ant. Tiz hollered in rage. Numerous tentacles slapped about, causing the ground to shake and the ground to shake. No matter how small Tiz's body was in front of Lin Fan, he was still a terrifying existence. Lin Fan clenched his fingers and gathered power in his fist. The destructive aura terrified Tiz. That was a power that only evil gods could have. But now, it actually appeared on a blood food from Blood Food World. How is that possible? The fist landed. Before the fist even arrived, the strong fist power caused Tiz to be unable to move. It was as if he was being locked down. Punk! At that moment, there was an intense explosion. Shortly after, a ball of destructive power covered Tiz. The noble evil god Lula won't let all of you off. How long? The bright light struck all around, and it was so blinding that everyone found it hard to open their eyes. Mock and the others had never felt such power. Even those ancient existences in St. Hall might not have been much stronger than him. Perhaps only the evil gods could fight against it. Not long later, the area calmed back down. Lin Fan warmed up and easily dealt with him. He didn't need to use astronomical phenomenon, but he couldn't accept a monster that wasn't even a human acting arrogantly in front of him. He kept shouting about his small body like he was so strong. Mock and the others opened their eyes immediately. In front of them, the huge body had disappeared. In front of them was a god that was the same size as them. They looked into the distance. That huge pit was proof of what had just happened. Evil god Lula's servant, the old era ruler, Tiz, was actually dead. He was really dead. This was like a dream to them. St. Hall had never killed an evil god before. They had only killed an evil god servant once. That was when they saw hope. Tizzy. They knew the answer, but they still wanted to ask. Lin Fan said calmly, "He is dead." But after killing him, he regretted it. He should have captured him to study him. But based on the current situation, there should be many of them. He wasn't in a rush at all. Mock kept silent for a long while, and then gathered his courage. "Are you the god of this blood food world?" To them, only gods could have such power. "No," Lin Fan denied, and then said slowly, "I am just a normal person with some strength. To me, those evil gods are just mutated animals with some strength." Mock was speechless and actually didn't know how to reply to him. Lin Fan said, "Okay, now it is time for all of you to tell me where you came from and what is going on with Blood Food World. How did they appear? Who are the evil gods you're talking about?" This was what he wanted to know the most. What was going on during the half a year of rest? Where did all these random things pop out from? Moreover, these people came from another world, so where was the tunnel? Damn, he wanted a peaceful life, but he wasn't given a chance. That was annoying. Mock and his companions looked at one another. Maybe this time they could invite a really strong helper. Chapter 591. Mock said slowly, "Let me introduce myself. I am Mock, and we are warriors from St. Hall. We came from another blood food world that was invaded by evil gods. Simply put, we aren't from the same world, but we are all humans." Lin Fan said, "St. Hall, blood food world that was invaded by evil gods. I'm really interested in what you're saying. I want to know in more detail what is going on. Don't be impatient. I will tell you everything that we know," Wang Zhong said. Mock said, after learning that the blood food world had such experts, his uneasy heart slowly calmed down. Lin Fan nodded. He liked to listen to stories. Although he would make things sound serious, it wasn't important to Lin Fan. He just needed to know a rough idea. After all, it wasn't good to randomly beat people up. At least there had to be a reason, right? The evil gods are a group of terrifying beings that emerge from the abyss. They like to feed on blood. According to the records, we humans were created by the ancient gods, and the evil gods and the rulers of the old era were once the followers of the ancient gods. After the ancient gods disappeared, the evil gods kept humans as pets. Every time they woke up from the endless abyss, they would eat the humans that they had kept for a long time. Each time disaster descended, saviors would appear. They would find a way to obtain power to fight against the evil gods. The blood food world here was sealed, but recently the seal disappeared. Evil God sensed the existence of this place and drew evil god Lula over. As time goes on, more evil gods will notice this place. When that happens, it will be a disaster. St. Hall's existence is to fight against evil gods. After sensing that the blood food world had opened, we were sent over to check whether or not there were any transcendents here. Only transcendents are immune to the evil god's power. Otherwise, they will be infected and become their servants. Mock didn't hide anything and said everything he knew. This news had a huge impact on Lin Fan. We were created by the ancient gods. Nonsense. Who had the balls to create such an amazing person like him? An entire race wouldn't be able to find someone better than him. Great one, May I ask if there are many extraordinary beings like you? Mok asked. Lin Fan said, You don't have to call me that. You can call me Sect Leader Lin. As for strong transcendents like me, naturally, there aren't any, but there are many weaker than me. Mok heaved a sigh of relief. Naturally, he didn't hope that there would be more people as strong as this noble being in front of him. Even if they were weak, it was okay. That was because only superhumans could fight against evil gods. Otherwise, under the evil god's corruption, there wouldn't be any reaction at all. Sect Leader Lin, since that is the case, can we unite these strong transcendents together to fight against the evil gods? Evil gods are everywhere, and their evil power can be placed on any unassuming thing. It will have a huge impact on normal people. Mok felt like this trip was worth it. This blood food world was much stronger than he expected, especially the person in front of him. He definitely had the strength to fight against evil gods. Although he had not personally seen him fight with the evil god, he believed that he could definitely do it. Upon hearing this, Lin Fan felt a little awkward. Stick together? How could they form a group? The four alliances were wiped out by him. As for those sect leaders who ran, they hated him to death. It was good enough that they didn't work with the evil gods. So how could they work with him? Lin Fan didn't want to linger on this topic and said, Where did the evil gods enter from, and how can I see them? I want to talk to them. Mok was shocked and said hurriedly, Sect Leader Lin, it is useless to talk to them. They are arrogant and won't care about us. In their eyes, we're just food, and the only way out is to be swallowed by them. You don't have to worry about all this. Bring me to where the evil gods came from. I want to see whether or not I can cut off the source. Lin Fan said. Mok was helpless. Sect Leader Lin, maybe that is impossible. Evil god's aura is spreading in the air and will slowly cover the entire blood food world. That is unstoppable. The evil god aura in the air was easy for Lin Fan to deal with. The darkness god domain in his body liked this aura and could absorb it. But now, he wanted to know where these evil gods came from. That bunch of damn things. Didn't they know whose territory this was? Did they have to randomly cause trouble here? Sect Leader Lin, we will bring you to the evil god tunnel. Now, we have noticed too, but during this period of time, we don't know whether or not the evil gods built other tunnels. Evil god Lula, who descended, is the cruelest one. People who are contaminated by him will have their flesh and blood swallowed by him. There is no way to save them. Although the other evil gods are terrifying, most of them only contaminate one's mind. As long as it isn't too deep, one can still be saved. Mok hated evil god Lula. Evil god Lula once killed a large half of their world's population. Facing Lula's contamination, there was nothing they could do. Let's go. Bring me to take a look. Lin Fan wasn't interested in such a situation. He just wanted to solve these problems. It was such a good place, so why was it filled with problems? Okay. Mok didn't hesitate. He got up and brought Lin Fan towards a city that they had discovered. In a certain city, darkness covered the city. This had become a dead city. When normal people came here, they would be contaminated by the evil god power and turn into monsters. It seems like the tunnel here has been formed. I didn't even see a single corpse demon. Air looked around warily and realized that there was no movement at all. The evil god tunnel needed the power of contamination to support it. Now that there were no corpse demons in the city, it was obvious that they had all become a part of the tunnel. Follow me. The tunnel is here. Mok said. Originally, he had to be careful here. But now, he didn't fear anything. With such a strong expert here, did he need to be afraid? Very quickly, they came to a luxurious residence. It seemed like the people here were aristocratic families in the city. Now, in front of this unstoppable power, their families were destroyed. How pitiful. They pushed the door in. The contamination power here was getting thicker and thicker. One could even see it with the naked eye. Pung! The last door was kicked open. That is the evil god tunnel. Mok pointed forwards. Lin Fan looked over. There was a mirror surface that looked like water ripples. The ripples were purple-black, and they were really evil. Endless evil god contamination power surged out from within. They were changing the world. They wanted to change the world into something they liked. It is this thing. It doesn't look any different. Lin Fan said. Mok and the others stood behind Lin Fan. When facing the evil god tunnel, even if they knew that there was an expert beside them, they would still be afraid. A formed evil god tunnel was really dangerous. One would never know what kind of thing would appear from it. When it appeared, it meant that one couldn't escape. Suddenly, the aura in the room became really evil. The evil god tunnel changed. The purple-black light rippled and a non-human eye appeared. This eye was filled with violence and evil. Evil god Lula's evil eye, he appeared. Mok exclaimed. He recognized what it was right away. Shortly after, a weird ripple spread out. Mok and the others shuddered. They sat on the ground and vomited in pain. Despair appeared on their faces, and the light in their eyes slowly disappeared. Scoff. Lin Fan frowned and scoffed coldly. There was an explosion in the room, causing the tunnel to be unstable like it could shatter at any moment. A strange sound of surprise came from the evil god's tunnel. Mok and the others reacted quickly. Fear appeared on their faces. Just now, they were affected by evil god Lula. If no one saved them, they would die in pain. Blood Food World expert, did you kill the noble evil god Lula's loyal servant Tiz? Lula's voice spread out from within the tunnel. The evil eye flickered with anger. One could even see an unknown radiance flowing within the evil eye. Stop with all this nonsense. You are evil god Lula? Lin Fan asked. He was annoyed by these people who came here to cause trouble. Otherwise, he would be having sex with his wife. Right? Lula replied. The moment Tiz died, he sensed it. He thought that it was those ancient people from St. Hall who killed Tiz, who knew that it was the blood food of this blood food world. The blood food they raised was actually so fat. That was just shocking. But also made Lula feel threatened. Lin Fan said, This world is my territory. I don't care who you are, but I hope that you don't cause trouble here. Otherwise, it will be a disaster for all of you. Do you understand what I am saying? The moment he said this, immediately, a weird laughter spread out from the evil god's tunnel. Lowly blood food. Evil god Lula heard the funniest joke in the world. But his laughter was just too unpleasant to listen to. As expected, it is so tiring to talk to beings that aren't human. Lin Fan shook his head and punched out at the evil eye. His speed was extremely fast as he gathered all his powers together. With a loud boom, a boundless amount of destructive power pierced out. That evil eye was furious. It was covered in purple blood, and with a pong, it exploded and disappeared. A scream spread out from within the tunnel. No one expected Lin Fan to attack at such a time. Everyone was so shocked that they didn't react at all. To Lin Fan, fists were more useful. A bunch of trash. He had rested for half a year, and it was time for him to warm up. P.S. Follow my Weibo, Yuwen Xinfeng. I will send you benefits. Chapter 592. Gulyalu. Large amounts of unknown liquid surged out from the tunnel that was about to shatter. This is evil god blood. It is a good thing. When Mok saw this, he immediately took out a silverware from his pocket and carefully stored the blood in it. Especially since it was evil god blood, naturally, it was even more precious. Lin Fan took a look. Such disgusting blood was treated as a treasure. Who knew what the people in St. Hall were thinking? Mok sensed sect leader Lin's disdainful gaze and explained. Sect leader Lin, this is evil god's blood. St. Hall's transcendents need to resonate with the evil gods who borrow strength from them. They need the blood of their enemies to make them happy so that they can obtain stronger power. This was their St. Hall's cultivation technique. Although they still obtained power from evil gods, they were gentler and much better than Lula and the others. If not for those evil gods lending them power, they would have died long ago. Of course, those evil gods that lent them power had a contract with the founder of St. Hall, so they didn't need to worry about them going back on their word. Oh, Lin Fan replied calmly. He was thinking about how those evil gods were so pretentious. Darkness Chief God was so generous. As long as they believed in him, he would give them power. He didn't need any tributes at all. From what they said, He knew that evil gods had conflicts with one another. But to him, these people were a waste. To be direct, they were pawns in the hands of other evil gods to deal with the evil gods that they hated. Very quickly, the evil god tunnel that was shattered totally shattered at that moment. It was a burp. It was like someone farting. There was no smell, and only the sound was similar. I have already destroyed one evil god tunnel. Where are the others? Lin Fan asked. Mock said, Sect Leader Lin, there is one more place that we have to deal with. An evil god-infected body has appeared there and is releasing evil god energy. If we don't wipe it out, this world will be covered by evil god energy. When that happens, normal people won't be able to survive. Then, what are you waiting for? Lead the way, Lin Fan said. The current situation was that if evil gods didn't descend, all monsters were paper tigers in front of Lin Fan. They couldn't take a beating at all. Lin Fan realized that sometimes, even if he tried to communicate with the other party nicely and gave them enough face, the other party would still take advantage of him. They didn't know what was good for them at all. Therefore, the best solution was he was going to beat him, and he was going to beat him mercilessly. Even if he was given 10 guts, he wouldn't dare to resist. Alliance. This was no longer the alliance of the past. After Hell Mountain and Ocean Emperor Island occupied the alliance, they fought for power for 3 months. In the end, they realized that this wasn't good. If they continued to fight, they would destroy the alliance that they had spent so much effort to occupy. That was why the current alliance didn't just have one regime, but 2. They worked together, but also fought against each other. It was just that this kind of fighting was very subtle, and there was only a small amount of friction. For the citizens of the alliance, after experiencing a series of turmoil, they yearned for peace. The newly established alliance government used both carrot and stick to appease the people very quickly. Apart from a few who wanted to start a war being ruthlessly suppressed, everything was developing in the direction they wanted. In a slum district of the alliance, a teen's mind was in a mess. He was venting about the unfairness of the alliance and the unhappiness of life. He was bewitched by an evil god, and his mind was slowly being corrupted. He slowly lost himself. At the same time, he was immersed in the power of the evil god. Evil gods had started to invade the world and harvest. Maybe not long later, more evil god wills would descend, and they would use their polluting powers to infect more people. They would slowly change the world into a world that the evil gods liked. This is the initial evil god tunnel. Lin Fan and the others came to the Ocean Eye. He heard Water Emperor tell him that this was the place where the Een demons were sealed. But now, he wanted to ask, where did the Een demons go? This was obviously an evil god. Moreover, it wasn't just a boss, but an evil god of an entire world. This was a huge headache. Sect Leader Lin. Actually, it isn't important whether or not this place is destroyed. Evil gods are cunning, and they have definitely infected many people. Even if we destroy this place, maybe another evil god tunnel will appear in another place. Mock said. Lin Fan kept silent for a moment and said slowly, I understand that theory. To solve things, we have to deal with the source. I think only by destroying all those so-called evil gods will everything end. Mock and the others looked at Lin Fan with a stunned expression. Even though Zhang Xian could understand every single word that the other party said, when put together, it made him feel a little lost. Looking at Sect Leader Lin's calm expression, their hearts calmed down. That calmness wasn't because their mental states were good, but because they were really shocked by Lin Fan. Destroy all the evil gods? That was something they had never thought about. All along, the Divine Temple's ultimate goal was to seal the evil gods within the stars of the universe, so that they could not descend at will. As for killing the evil god, that was something impossible. Evil gods couldn't die. Even if they were killed, they would revive somewhere. Sect Leader Lin, actually your idea is good, but these evil gods can't die. Even if someone can kill them, they can revive somewhere else. So, the best way is to seal them. Mock said. Now that the 2 blood food worlds were invaded by evil gods, to put it bluntly, they were all on the same side, and there was nothing to hide. Naturally, they had to say what was going on. Can't die. In the past, many people said that they couldn't die, but in the end they still died. Lin Fan said. At the same time, he thought to himself that unless he had a small support system, then he really couldn't die. If not, to reach true undying through cultivation, these evil gods weren't enough. Mok was helpless. He knew that he couldn't convince this expert. Since that is the case, then why don't you follow me back to St. Hall? I think you will know more there. Mok said. After all, they were just transcendents from St. Hall. Although they knew many things, compared to St. Hall, they were illiterate. Lin Fan thought about it. There was a need to head to St. Hall to take a look. Lead the way. Gu Yuan and Su Yuanming started to get restless. They were active people and wouldn't stay at the same spot for too long. Damn, if I bump into him, I will definitely kill him. Su Yuanming cursed. He was cursing the person who told them that the secret to Tao Realm Stage 8 was in the Ocean Eye. But what secret was there now? There was no secret at all. Their hope was gone. The two of them were at a loss, like their path ahead had been cut off. Gu Yuan said, "We can't blame others. We can only blame ourselves for needing to become strong and giving them the chance. Otherwise, such a thing wouldn't have happened. But I'm curious, what did we release?" Su Yuanming wanted to know too, but it was tough to know what happened at the place they were at. Suddenly, the two of them sensed that familiar aura appear once more. Actually, the secret to breaking through to Tao Realm Stage 8 has appeared. The voice that infuriated the 4 Alliance sect leaders spread out once more. Because of this person, they spent half a year smashing the door and thought that they could break through to Tao Realm Stage 8. Who knew that the outcome would be like that? You still dare to come? If you have balls, then come out. See if I don't turn your bones to dust. Gu Yuan raged. The rage in his heart burned. The first person he hated the most was definitely Lin Fan, and the second was definitely this fella. They were being toyed around in circles. Calm down. Actually, you have misunderstood me. The secret to breaking through to Tao Realm Stage 8 has appeared in front of your eyes. It is just that you haven't noticed it yet. Evil God said, "Kiki, do you think we will believe your words?" Gu Yuan raged. Evil God said, "The ocean eye has opened and the evil god inside has appeared. You just need to get the evil god core and merge it into your body to break through to Tao Realm Stage 8. I don't care if you believe it or not. I have already told you the method. If you don't believe me, then there is nothing I can do." The moment he said this, Evil God left. Come out, come out. What schemes do you have?" Gu Yuan hollered. But the surroundings were really quiet, and no one replied to his question. "He has already left," Su Yuanming said. Gu Yuan panted, and his expression became a little vicious. He looked at Su Yuanming. "Do you believe what he said?" Su Yuanming kept silent for a moment, and then shook his head. "Actually, I don't." "What about you?" "I don't believe it either," Gu Yuan said. But now that he appeared and said all this to them, the desire in their hearts rose up once more. They had already been forced to such a stage. They only had one goal, which was to break through to Tao Realm Stage 8, to take revenge on Lin Fan, and take back everything that they lost. But with their current strength, they were no match for Lin Fan. Taking revenge was just empty talk. That was impossible. If it is possible, I want to try. Gu Yuan thought about it for a long while and said slowly. Su Yuanming wasn't surprised by Gu Yuan's choice at all. He knew that Gu Yuan was someone who wouldn't give up as long as there was a bit of hope. However, he had a feeling that the mysterious fellow had been luring them to do something. "Now, we need to return to the ocean eye to see what it is," Gu Yuan said. Su Yuanming said, "We better be careful. He wants to use us, but we can also slowly come into contact with those existences that we don't know about." "This is your world?" Lin Fan raised his head and looked over. Those 3 blood moons were just too eye-catching and a little horrifying. They illuminated the entire sky red. Chapter 593. Mok also raised his head and looked. It wasn't like this in the past. Those 3 blood moons were really beautiful, white bright day and night. But since evil gods invaded and evil god power became stronger, it became like this. Under the blood moon, the servants of the evil god will become stronger. So, I don't want evil gods to invade your world. Otherwise, it will become the same as this place. Mach didn't see how beautiful this world was in the past, but from the records and books and those old pictures, he saw how beautiful it was. The evil god aura in the world that Mach was in was too thick. Lin Fan felt like the darkness god domain in his body became active and started to absorb the evil god aura that filled the area. The darkness god domain was changing at a visible rate. He didn't pay attention and allowed it to develop. Not long later, under the lead of Mach and the others, Lin Fan came to a Western-style city and stopped in front of it. Sect leader Lin, this is our city of hope. The people living here are fighting against evil gods. Although it is tough, I believe that we will succeed. Mach said, and his eyes shone with hope. As long as this city existed, then there was hope. Lin Fan nodded his head. He noticed that the city was protected by a mysterious power that blocked the evil god power in the air. When he entered, he noticed that there was a light barrier at the entrance. One could casually walk in and wouldn't be stopped. After entering, he realized that the air here was totally different from the outside world. There was no evil god aura, and everything was really peaceful. After Mach and the others entered, they heaved a sigh of relief. They didn't need to be wary of the evil god aura that was everywhere. They could relax and breathe in fresh air. Mr. Mach, welcome back. Many commoners who lived in the city would smile and greet them when they passed them. Thank you. Mach smiled. He loved the life here. If he could seal those evil gods, then that would be true happiness. Sect leader Lin, they are all normal people who live here. They have never left the city and can only walk around here. Actually, thinking about it, they are really innocent. Lin Fan said, they haven't left the city, and at least they are much happier than those who died to evil gods. Indeed, Mach nodded his head and agreed. He pointed at a building with a sharp horn in the distance and said, that is Saint Hall. There are a total of 12 Saint Halls like this. If it wasn't for Saint Hall guiding us, maybe this world would have been taken over by evil gods, and we would have become slaves with no consciousness. Mach's eyes were shining with admiration when he mentioned Holy Temple, similar to that kind of faith. After passing through a few streets, the Holy Temple appeared before them. At this time, there were a few people standing at the entrance of the Holy Temple. The leader was an old man holding a staff. The Transcendents, standing beside the old man, saw Mach and the others return. Some of them couldn't help but want to ask what was going on in Blood Food World. However, because the old man was here, they suppressed their curiosity and waited quietly. Mach came before the old man and said respectfully, Holy Lord, we are back. Yes, thank you for your hard work. The old man smiled. Mach said, Lord, this is Blood Food World's human sect leader Lin. The old man looked at Lin Fan and tilted his body. Welcome, friend from afar. I am St. Hall's Lord Mo Fu. Lin Fan nodded slightly and replied with a smile on his face. He could sense a strong power in his body, but it wasn't Tao essence. It should have been the power that Mach said borrowed from evil gods. After being converted, it became a power that they could control. Please, Holy Lord said slowly. When he was observing Holy Lord was also observing him. To Holy Lord, he couldn't see through the young man in front of him. Lin Fan nodded his head and followed behind the Holy Master into the Sage Hall. Mach and the others stayed outside. When Holy Lord was far away, Mach and the others were surrounded. They went to the new Blood Food World. This was a place that many people wanted to go to. Mach, how is this Blood Food World? It must be beautiful, right? A guy asked curiously. The people around looked at Mach and the others in anticipation. They hoped to hear about scenes that they had never seen before. Mach shrugged and said helplessly, Sorry, I really didn't see it. When we arrived, evil god aura had already spread. Everything is no different from here. The moment he said this, disappointment spread out from around. What a waste. Another beautiful world has been destroyed by evil gods. Those damn evil gods. Why do they have to destroy this beautiful world and make us live in the shadows? They scolded in rage. They were furious at those destructive evil gods. They really wanted to suppress all of them. Mach, who was that person just now? Is he the king of that world? I think he must be really confused right now. After all, The world is being targeted by the evil god out of nowhere. Perhaps he will never be able to imagine just how terrifying the destructive powers of the evil god are. I hope that he can endure all of this. The man who was curious earlier on asked. At the same time, he felt that it was a pity for Lin Fan. After all, no one was willing to see the arrival of evil gods. Mock said solemnly, "Guys, I hope you can be more serious. That person isn't an ordinary person. He's the god of that world. Yes, he's like a god. He's an existence comparable to the evil god. I invited him here because I hope he can help us deal with the evil god." Instantly, everyone was in an uproar. They didn't dare to believe what they heard. "Mock, are you crazy? You said that the young man is comparable to an evil god? Impossible. That is impossible. Evil god is an invincible existence. No one can fight against evil god." Ire, who had not said a word all this while, said, "What Mock said is true. That person is really a very, very strong supernatural being. We encountered the evil god, Lula's servant, Tiz, there." Everyone exclaimed. "What? Tiz? You mean the old era ruler Tiz? All of you met such a terrifying person and were able to return. You were really lucky." They didn't dare to imagine what would happen if Tiz appeared. Tiz was really terrifying, especially his size. To them who hadn't seen true evil gods before, he was a giant. One shake could cause an earthquake. Shook his head regretfully. "All of you guessed wrong. It isn't that we are lucky, but the old era ruler Tiz is unlucky. Tiz died to sect leader Lin." Everyone was stunned once more. Some even pinched themselves and thought that they were dreaming. But the pain told them that this wasn't a dream and everything was real. Looking at the shocked expressions of his companions, I was secretly pleased. Maybe those who didn't personally witness it would find it hard to believe that this was real. "All right, there's one more thing. If all of you know, you'll be really frightened to death." Air said. Everyone was curious and looked at Air in anticipation. They wanted to know what was going on. Al silently took out the silverware and unscrewed the cap. A thick evil god aura spread out. Air was so frightened that he covered the cap. "Do you know what this is? This is evil god Lula's blood." The moment he said this, the people who finally calmed down were so shocked that they didn't know what to say. Mock was helpless. Air needed to change his personality. He loved to show off too much, although what he said was true. But wasn't this a little too straightforward? St. Hall corridor. It was a little dark, and there were many unknown drawings carved on the walls. "I want to know where their main camp is. I want to find them," Lin Fan asked. St. Lord, who was leading the way, paused and then continued forwards. "So what if you know?" Lin Fan said calmly. "They invaded my territory, and I am annoyed. I'm also not willing to waste time with them. I want to kill these evil gods and return to my peaceful days." At that moment, St. Lord Mo Fu was unable to keep calm and looked at Lin Fan in shock. He had never heard anyone say such words. He actually wanted to kill the evil gods. Then, he smiled, taking it as the words spoken by the other party because he was too angry. "Follow me. Very quickly you will know everything," Mo Fu said. Lin Fan said solemnly, "I am serious. Where's their base? I can't stand them jumping around." Mo Fu didn't reply. He just smiled at Lin Fan and continued to walk in. Not long later, Mo Fu brought Lin Fan to the depths and saw a book floating there. This book was closed, and the cover was made of some fur. There were several chains wrapped around the book, and it gave off a dark aura. "This book's aura is not right," Lin Fan said. Mo Fu said, "It is indeed not right. This is the book of the evil god, the source of St. Hall's power. It records the details of the evil gods. Evil god Lula, who invaded your world, belongs to the top 32 evil gods. He is known as the blood food tyrant, and he is greedy for human flesh and blood. If one is infected by his evil energy, one will turn into a black skeleton without any consciousness. Evil god Lula comes from the deep abyss and is undying. Even if he is killed, he will revive in the abyss and roam in the outside world. Maybe in a piece of rotten meat, evil god Lula lives. Unless he appears himself, one won't be able to find him." Lin Fan frowned. He didn't come to listen to all this. He really wanted to kill the evil god and then go home to rest. And Mo Fu continued, "Evil gods can't be wiped out and can only be sealed. We are living beings created by the ancient gods, and after they disappeared, we became blood food. We will slowly reproduce, and when we reach a certain level, the evil gods will descend to eat us. What we can do now is to protect the last pure land and wait for the ancient gods to return. St. Hall can borrow the power of some evil gods because they are afraid of the rage of the ancient gods after they return, so they are helping us." Chapter 594. Lin Fan felt that St. Lord was too optimistic. It was like he was farting. It smelled good, and when he smelled it, it smelled really good. That was definitely the truth. There is no need to say so much to me. My goal is simple. I just want to find evil gods. Lin Fan said. His thoughts had always been simple, which was to find evil gods and kill them. With his current strength, he was strong enough. He had already reached Dao Realm Stage 7. The trip to the Four Alliances caused his rage points to increase to an explosive level. So during this half a year, whenever he was bored, he would raise his strength. It felt really good to raise his strength. Based on his current realm, his true strength should be able to fight against those at Dao Realm Stage 9. But it was hard to say. It was mainly in terms of the special ability. Dao Realm Stage 7 special ability was Dao Return to 1. Dao Return to 1 was really strong. Without this special ability, Dao Realm Stage 7 strength would be greatly reduced. It is hard to find unless evil gods appear themselves. St. Lord Mo Fu was helpless. Why didn't this person understand? He had already made it so clear. Evil gods weren't things that one could find just because one wanted to. One couldn't find any traces of them at all. Forget it. I won't be able to get anything from you. Sometimes I have to rely on myself. Can I flip this book of the evil god? I want to understand more about evil gods. Lin Fan asked. He was really unfamiliar with these evil gods. Their power system was different from theirs. He was really interested in these unknown things. He even wanted to capture an evil god to study. Maybe as the saying went, know yourself and know your enemy. And Mo Fu shook his head. Maybe not. Even I can't open the book of the evil god. This is a cursed book that records evil gods, and it contains terrifying power. Only when the evil gods that borrow power from us find us will it automatically open. Can I touch it? Lin Fan asked. He was really unhappy with these weird things. The book of the evil god recorded evil gods, and it was a book for people to read. But now he said that he couldn't open it. He was unhappy. So he wanted to try. Of course, Mo Fu didn't know what sect leader Lin meant. Although the book of the evil god was a cursed book, it was fine to touch it. Even if he wanted to forcefully open it, he could try. But in the end, he would realize how powerless he was. Lin Fan took a deep breath and stepped forwards. He grabbed the book of the heretical god with both hands, gathering a terrifying strength in his arms. Since he couldn't open it, then he would have to rely on brute force. Wait a minute. Why did it feel like it could be opened? She flipped open the first page. Lin Fan turned around and looked at Mo Fu. His gaze seemed to be sending a message. Was this what you meant by you couldn't open it? At this moment, Mo Fu was stunned. He was completely dumbfounded. How was that possible? Mo Fu didn't dare to believe that the book of the evil god really couldn't be opened. He didn't believe that Lin Fan actually opened it, and it was so easy. It was not fair. The book of the evil god was discriminatory. Could the people of Blood Food World be different from them? He allowed Mo Fu to mess around in the wind while Lin Fan focused on the contents of the book of the evil god. There were many different types of evil gods with different names. But that wasn't the main point. What shocked Lin Fan was that there were many evil gods. First and second class, they were split into two levels. There were 38 first-class ones. There were 62 second-class ones. In total, there were 100 evil gods. This was a terrifying number. Along with the evil god servants and those old-era rulers, there were many more. It was really tough for St. Hall to survive under such power. It was tough on them. After a moment, Lin Fan finished reading the contents of the book of the evil god. He closed it, and his understanding of the evil gods reached a certain level. Based on the Book of the Evil Gods records, they couldn't be killed. They came from the abyss and could revive there. But it didn't mention where the abyss was. Lord, there are so many evil gods. Lin Fan exclaimed. And Mo Fu was shocked. How did you do it? What do you mean how? It is really simple. I just need to slowly open it. Can't you do that? Lin Fan teased. And Mo Fu hurried forwards and tried in disbelief. But even if he used all his strength, he couldn't move the Book of the Evil God at all. That's impossible. And Mo Fu muttered and started a doubt life. Why could he open it? As the Saint Hall Lord, he had such a deep connection with the evil gods, but he couldn't open it. This made him feel really bad, and he suffered a huge blow. Lin Fan thought to himself. He was able to open the Book of the Evil God, not because he had a small support system or because he was really charming. There was a high chance that it had something to do with the Darkness God domain. Did he belong to the same family as the evil gods? There is no need to try. You are too weak and definitely can't open it. Lin Fan said. Mo Fu was stunned as he looked at Lin Fan. I am weak. Mo Fu couldn't accept such a situation. Not only was he not weak, but he was actually really strong. His connection with the evil gods had existed for a long time. He wasn't affected by the negative emotions of the evil gods. Apart from being the Saint Hall Lord, there was another reason. He had a god artifact that could absorb the negative emotions of the evil gods. But the god artifact wasn't omnipotent. Thus, he couldn't obtain power from the evil gods anymore. Otherwise, he would be infected by their negative emotions and become someone he hated the most. Outside, air felt great today. He was in the limelight, and numerous people looked at him with envy. When Lord and Lin Fan walked out, everyone realized that Lord wasn't in a good mood. To them, Lord and sect leader Lin were discussing the evil gods. They knew that the pressure they faced was too huge, and they couldn't take it anymore. Lord, if there are any evil gods, you have to inform me. Lin Fan said, and Mo Fu said, Okay, don't worry, sect leader Lin. As long as there are evil gods, I will inform you. He had been out for a period of time and was worried about the situation in his own territory. One had to say that these evil gods were problematic. He wasn't like the four alliances or the alliance who were waiting to be beaten up. These evil gods were tough to find. You city. The first thing Lin Fan did was to tell Go Zi to cook some food. At the dining area. Eat slowly, eat slowly. No one is snatching food from you. Yongla said. Lin Wani's expression was solemn. Yongla, return to your room first. Understood, father. Yongla knew that what was going to happen next would be important, so she didn't disturb him. After seeing his daughter-in-law leave, he asked, Did something happen? Yes, something happened. I don't know where the evil god came from, but it is a little problematic now. It isn't that we are in danger, but those normal people might not be able to block it. After Lin Fan drank the last mouthful of soup, he burped and said, Evil god. Lin Wani frowned. This was a foreign existence. Lin Fan said, Father, how did you turn the few strongest 9-star generals back to their childhood? There's only one space-time source, and after using it, it will disappear. I got it when I was young. Lin Wani said. Lin Fan was in deep thought. Father's methods were too terrifying, and it wasn't something that a Tao Realm Stage 7 could control. He had two guesses in his heart. The first was that the space-time source was the product of an evil god. The second type was the time and space source, something that only Stage 8 or 9 Tao Realm Stage 9 people had, such as comprehending the source. If he had to choose, he felt that the second one had the highest chance. Father, I suspect that the space-time source is something left by a Tao Realm Stage 8 or Stage 9 expert, but it might also be left behind by the evil gods that have appeared. I went to another world. That place is called Blood Food World, and this place is also called Blood Food World. All of us are living beings raised by the evil gods. Now that they are here, they want to eat us. Lin Fan said. Lin Wani opened his eyes wide and said with an annoyed tone, Which idiot said that we are blood food? How strong is that evil god? He actually dares to say such words. Father, that is what I think too. That is just too arrogant, so I want to capture an evil god to study. Lin Fan said. Lin Wani said, I support your idea. Lin Fan said, but the commoners are a problem. I have cut off the source of the evil gods, but I don't know whether or not there are more in the dark. The evil god aura that they give off can't be blocked by normal people. They will instantly die and become their slaves. Lin Wani was in deep thought, and his expression was solemn. This is a problematic matter. It seems like it is time for me to attack. With my foundations, I should be able to handle it. Lin Fan got up and walked out with his arms behind his back. He raised his head 90 degrees, and his nostrils were about to reach the sky. Father was stunned as he looked at Lin Fan. What was going on with his son? Was he agitated? At that moment, the darkness god domain in Lin Fan's body shook, and his will descended on the chief god statue. At that moment, the statue that the commoners worshipped gave off a holy glow. To the believers, they knew that the chief god had descended. City of Darkness. The village chief led the villagers to kneel beneath the statue and listen to the teachings of the god. Lin Fan was familiar with this. He simply told them that the evil gods were causing trouble everywhere, and it was time for them to perform. It was just so simple. He didn't lose the pride of chief god. He was really indulgent towards faith and basically allowed it to grow. As for how many believers he had now, he didn't count. But looking at the dense faith lines that connected to the darkness god domain, he was too lazy to count. Lin Wani patted Lin Fan's shoulder. What nonsense are you saying in broad daylight? Where did the soldiers come from? Your Marshall Path Mountain has so few people, they aren't even enough. Father, I have many methods. You just don't know about them. Lin Fan said. Lin Wani shook his head. Forget it. He really couldn't say anything to this kid. P.S. I recommend a book to even lie to you. If you're interested, you can read it. Chapter 595. It was much easier for a bunch of them to search than for him alone. If evil god descended, then the evil god aura definitely wouldn't be able to escape his senses. But evil god aura was tough to notice. He needed to mobilize believers to investigate. Restricted Ocean Eye. This is the place. Do we really have to enter? It is an unknown place below, and it might be filled with danger. Su Yuanming said solemnly. He was suspicious of what that mysterious person said. Gu Yuan said, even if it is a mountain of blades or a sea of flames, I have to walk. I have had enough of such days. If I don't enter Tao Realm Stage 8, my life will be filled with darkness. They were all forced to a corner by Lin Fan. Now that hope appeared, even if they knew that it wasn't as simple as they thought, they weren't willing to give up. Maybe this was life. Su Yuanming sighed. He didn't expect that such an unassuming fellow would force them to such a stage. If time could flow back, they would kill Lin Fan without hesitation. Even if they had to pay a huge price, they wouldn't care. But it was too late to say anything now. Let's go. Su Yuanming gritted his teeth and was prepared to go all out. If he didn't break through to Tao Realm Stage 8, then he would die. Instantly, the two of them jumped into the Ocean Eye. Lin Fan came here before and naturally wanted to destroy this place. But regretfully, with his current strength, he really couldn't. If it was so simple, then he wouldn't have been sealed and would have just destroyed it. Just as the two of them entered the Ocean Eye, Monster Emperor walked out from the dimension. He looked at the Ocean Eye and kept silent for a moment before laughing out loud. He jumped down and entered that unknown place. People who cultivated to their level, although they cared about their lives, when they were at their wits' end, to become stronger, they could disregard danger. Even if they knew that there was danger waiting for them, they didn't fear it. A few days later, Lin Fan's believers had spread out to search for traces of evil gods. Glorious Sun City, a faraway city that was once occupied by Monster Alliance. After Monster Alliance was wiped out, this city regained its freedom. At that moment, on a hill outside of Glorious Sun City, several people appeared. There were males and females, and they were all Lin Fan's believers. They believed in the one and only God in their hearts and obtained the chief god's blessings to become experts. Look at this city. There's a dark aura in the sky. That's the aura of the evil god that the chief god mentioned. The guy who spoke was really muscular. Even if he had Tao Realm Stage 1 strength, it was hard to hide the farmer aura on his face. Before he believed in the Lord God, he was a farmer. After believing in the Lord God, he was still a farmer. He had left his homeland and come all the way here because he was obeying the sovereign's orders. It was a part-time job. Yes, under the glory of the main god. The evil god's aura is very evil and terrifying. I wonder what happened to the people inside. Even if they possessed a realm that others would never be able to reach in their lifetime. But his heart was still so kind. To them, under the cover of such a terrifying evil god aura, they were probably doomed. The bunch of them headed towards Sunshine City. Their main mission was to investigate the situation, and if there was an invincible evil god, they would retreat right away. This was happening everywhere. Some cities were lucky, but some weren't so lucky. What Lin Fan could do now was to protect these cities. But Mo Fu was right. Evil gods were a bunch of people who knew how to hide, and it was hard to find them. Even after so many days passed, there was still no news at all. Lin Fan stayed at home and didn't head out. He was waiting for news. The believers would spread their findings to him through prayers. Until now, he noticed that 3 cities were infected by evil god aura. The infection speed was just too quick. If he didn't care, the outcome would be the same as Mo Fu's world. Suddenly, a voice rang out in Lin Fan's mind. Sect Leader Lin, come quickly. This was Mo Fu's voice. His ability was really special and could pass through layers of dimensions. Even if he was in different worlds, he could still transmit his voiceover. This was similar to how his will descended on the chief god statue. But compared to him, Mo Fu's ability was far from his. Lin Fan moved and instantly disappeared from the spot. St. Hall was still a little dark. He didn't bear to switch on the lights. Maybe because the electricity was too expensive, or maybe because Mo Fu likes such scenes. Mo Fu, what is the matter? Lin Fan asked. Although the two of them had only known each other for a short time, maybe because they were in the same boat, both of them were infected by evil gods, so they resonated with each other. Lin Fan could see that Mo Fu looked solemn, but deep down, he was like an old kid. He had a happy child's heart. Maybe that would allow him to take more negative emotions. Mo Fu said, I just received a distress signal. Evil God has descended in Fallen City, and the situation is dangerous. If there is no help, Fallen City won't be able to block their attacks. But why would evil gods descend personally? Mo Fu was shocked and didn't understand. Rarely would evil gods descend unless they were really infuriated and wanted to destroy them at all costs. If not, such a thing wouldn't happen. Then, what are you waiting for? Hurry up. Lin Fan was delighted and pumped up. He had been searching for evil gods, and now that one appeared, it was great. If Mo Fu knew what Lin Fan was thinking about, he would definitely spit out blood. At such a dangerous moment, he was actually so calm. That was just too arrogant. What is that thing in your hand? Lin Fan noticed that Mo Fu was holding a book he had never seen before. On the cover was a picture of a sun, and it was burning in flames. Morm Sun book, we need its power to fight against evil gods. Mo Fu said. Lin Fan shook his head. Why was it so problematic? Fallen City. A rainbow-colored curtain of light enveloped Fallen City. Numerous people in the city held staffs and pointed at the sky. They had reached their limit and used too much power. Evil god energy wrapped around their bodies. If they didn't stop, they would be infected by the evil god energy and wouldn't be able to turn back. But they couldn't. As long as they let go, the veil wouldn't be able to block evil god power and would shatter. When that happened, everyone in the city would die to evil gods. At that moment, an old woman bowed and raised a book in her hands. She said in rage, Gammon, scram back to your abyss. This isn't a place for you. The book gave off a pure white light that covered Fallen City. But for evil god Gammon, this power was far from enough. He raised his head and looked out. Outside the veil, there was an evil god formed by numerous eyeballs. He had no limbs and no face. He was just formed by numerous eyes. Some of them were closed, but the one in the middle was always open. His dark green eyes flickered with a strange light as he stared at the tiny fallen city in his eyes. Ah! Suddenly, someone screamed. He used too much evil god power, and was infected by negative emotions. His body gave off a thick black aura. The staff fell to the ground, and he hugged his head. He screamed in pain. "Kill me. Evil god power is infecting me. I can't take it anymore." When the people around saw their friends being infected, they all revealed sad expressions. Pucci, the cleaner who was hiding in the darkness, appeared behind that person. The silver dagger in his hand slashed down, and with a Pucci, his head was sliced off. There was no such thing as soft-heartedness here. Otherwise, more people would die. The old woman's expression was solemn. Evil god Gamon's arrival caused Fallen City to be in danger. She had already asked for help, but didn't know whether or not it was too late. The top 30 evil god Gamon was really terrifying. Just at that moment, evil god Gamon slowly opened one eye, and an eye-catching light exploded from it. The old woman's heart jumped when she saw that. She hollered in rage, and the book in her hand formed a pure person who struck towards the bright light. However, the figure conjured by the holy book was instantly destroyed. Although he blocked evil god Gamon's strike, evil god Gamon opened his other eye, and another eye-catching light struck. It was really quick. The old woman knew that if she didn't block it, the veil would shatter and everyone in the city would die. At that moment, the few ancient existences in the distance looked at one another and nodded their heads. A 6-star formation appeared above their heads, and they took out a dagger. They were prepared to trade with the evil god that borrowed their power to send stronger power to fight against Gamon. But they had to pay a higher price. For example, after they died, they would become the evil god's servant. But at that moment, everything wasn't important. As long as they could force Gamon back, it was worth it. "I am here." Just at that moment, Mo Fu appeared. Mo Fu appeared and flipped open the book of the Son of Morm. He waved his staff, and a red sun flew out from the book. It then clashed with the blinding light. Hong Long. There was an intense explosion, and shortly after, there was a shockwave from the explosion. The old woman and the others heaved a sigh of relief. "Mo Fu, you are finally here. How can I not come? I didn't expect Gamon to personally come," Mo Fu said. But his expression was solemn, and it was obvious that he was afraid of Gamon. This was the top 30 evil god, and his strength was much stronger than evil god Lula. Even if he brought Morm's son book, he might not be able to force Gamon back. He would probably have to pay a huge price to do so. But at that moment, an unharmonious voice spread out. "Mo Fu, are all evil gods so ugly? I want to capture him, but I don't know where to start." Lin Fan frowned and felt that it was tough. The main reason was that he was too dirty. Chapter 596. Sect Leader Lin, can you stop saying such things? Mo Fu was really helpless. This sect leader Lin's words had always been terrifying. One didn't know what to do and didn't know how to reply to what he said. The old woman and the others were really happy that Mo Fu could arrive in time. They didn't care much about the young man beside Mo Fu. To them, he might have been Mo Fu's disciple. He brought him to see the true face of the evil god, to have a deeper understanding of evil gods. However, were the words that the other party had just said even human? If there was nothing wrong with his ears. He seemed to be saying that evil gods all looked like this, and that he didn't know where to attack. Why? Did he want to get close to evil gods? As for the unrealistic talk of capturing the evil god, they treated it as a gust of wind blowing past them and didn't think much of it. Lin Fan shrugged his shoulders and chuckled. "All right then. Only what happens next will let you know that I'm not joking." At that moment, evil god Gamon was furious. His chaotic evil god aura filled the area and caused the wind to surge. Maybe Mo Fu's actions made him furious. Mo Fu raised his head and stared at him. "Evil god Gamon, why aren't you sleeping in the abyss? Why are you here? City of Hope Mo Fu, you're borrowing the power of those stupid evil gods to fight against your father. You are so stupid." Evil god Gamon's voice was really weird, and it made one's body feel cold like one was in an ice cave. Their blood seemed to have frozen. Mo Fu said coldly, "Gamon, if you don't retreat, We will fight you to the end until we seal you in the universe. Since they couldn't negotiate, then naturally there was no need to. If Lin Fan could reveal a bit of leeway, Mo Fu would change his attitude and use honorifics to call him noble and supreme. But now it was obvious that Lin Fan wanted them to die, so he could only fight to the end. Scoff! A furious roar spread out. Mo Fu's actions and words totally infuriated Gamin. Sealing the noble evil god was a provocation to the evil god, and that was unforgivable. You all continue to talk. I will head out to see what is going on with this evil god. Lin Fan floated up. The evil god was right in front of him, so how could he let him go? He didn't care about what was going on. As long as he grabbed him, that would be true. Anything else was just empty talk. Mo Fu was stunned and was shocked by Lin Fan's actions. Come back. That is evil god Gamin. You can't go out. The old woman shouted. But Lin Fan didn't hear her and continued to walk toward the evil god. Mo Fu, don't your people know who is outside? To the old woman, how could Mo Fu teach such a disciple? The one outside was evil god Gamin. If he left the protection of a light veil, he would definitely die. Maybe before he even got close, he would be infected by Gamin's mind and lose himself, becoming the evil god's slave. He knows who it is. Actually, he isn't from St. Hall, but an expert from another blood food world. Mo Fu said. He thought about something and said, his goal here is to capture an evil god. What? The old woman was shocked, and then she raged. Mo Fu, didn't you tell him what evil gods were like? You'll get him killed. The old woman knew about Lin Fan's background, but she was furious that Mo Fu didn't explain how terrifying the evil gods were. She tried to stop him, but it was too late now. Mo Fu looked really innocent. How could he blame him? I've already said it many times, okay? But Lin Fan didn't listen at all. Mo Fu knew that Lin Fan was strong, but who was stronger between him and the evil gods? Truthfully, he was still on the evil god's side. The terror of evil gods was deeply rooted in his heart. It was hard to forget. The ancient guardians of Fallen City furrowed their brows. They didn't understand why Lin Fan did that. Along with Mo Fu, after paying a price, there was a high chance that they could force Gamin back. But now that Lin Fan was asking to die, they didn't know what to say. Outside, Lin Fan walked out of the light veil and floated in the air. He said, "Oi, are all evil gods like this? Disgusting, dirty, you don't even look like a human. You're making things so difficult for me. I don't even know where to start." Gamin's jade-green eyes spun, and he looked at the tiny mosquito in the air. Instantly, a weird power spread out from the jade-green eyes. Not good. Gamin is contaminating his mind. The old woman exclaimed. Evil god's aura and evil god personally descending were two different things. Even they found it hard to block that kind of contamination. But very quickly, Gamin exclaimed like he didn't expect that the blood food would be unaffected. His mind was unable to get close to him. "Don't use your mind to communicate with me," Lin Fan said. He wasn't good at mental attacks. Normally, he just used his aura to suppress the enemy. Who is Mo Fu? Gamin's mental contamination is actually useless against him. The old woman asked in shock. Even if it was useless, at least he had to show some signs of resistance, right? But the young man was indifferent, as if nothing had happened. Mo Fu said, "Didn't I tell all of you? Why are you still asking me?" "All right, I forgot to tell all of you that he killed the old era ruler Tiz, so don't underestimate him. He is stronger than all of us. Maybe he really has a chance against evil gods." When Mo Fu said these words, the scene was a little chaotic. They were all shocked. At that moment, Gamin said, "You aren't from this world. You don't have evil god power. So where did you come from?" "I came from another place that you call Blood Food World," Lin Fan said. "So, there is another Blood Food World. It seems like it has been asleep for too long, and it actually doesn't know about the new Blood Food World. A bunch of fresh blood food is waiting for the noble Gamin." Blood food. Thank you for passing such an important message. To thank you, I will allow you to become my slave. This is the highest honor for you. Gamin said. When he thought about those beautiful blood food, he felt really happy. He needed those blood food. Lin Fan didn't want to continue talking to him. He felt like there was no need. Lin Fan raised his hand. Okay, let's end the conversation here. I am happy that you appeared. Recently, I have been interested in you evil gods and wanted to capture one to study. However, I didn't have a way to do so. Now that you appeared, it is the right time. When he said this, the entire place became silent. No one said anything. The old woman and the others were stunned. They raised their heads and looked at Lin Fan in confusion. To them, were evil gods so easy to capture? To evil god Gamin, his originally happy mood was destroyed once more. Damn! One of Gamin's eyeballs shook and a bright light struck towards Lin Fan. This light is a little, Lin Fan frowned. This wasn't the light that exploded from gathering power. It seemed like it contained some indescribable power. But all of that wasn't important now. Lin Fan roared out in a low voice. Gripping his fingers, he punched out with all his might. That seemingly ordinary punch brought forth a power that could devastate the entire world the moment it was thrown out. It was as if the entire world was about to shatter. His fist smashed Gamin's attack. At the same time, the power didn't dissipate and it continued to strike Gamin. Pong! Gamin's eyes seemed really weak, but they were actually really strong. But under Lin Fan's strength, those seemingly strong eyeballs couldn't take a single hit. His giant body was pierced by Lin Fan. Numerous eyeballs shattered under the terrifying power and exploded. Ah! Gamin screamed, and purple liquid scattered all over the area. This was pain that he had never felt before. He also didn't expect that someone would be able to do that. Gamin's body shook and numerous eyeballs shook. Those perfectly fine eyeballs were tightly shut due to the pain. Mo Fu, who is he? The old woman looked at everything that happened in the sky with her mouth agape. Even her voice started to tremble. Mo Fu didn't want to say anything. He had already said it, so why did he have to ask again? But he was also shocked by the scenes in front of him. This was evil God Gamin, one of the 31st class evil gods, and he was actually injured. If one didn't personally witness it, it would be hard for one to believe it. When they fought the evil gods, they really went all out. They even had to pay a huge price to have a bit of hope to force them back. But now, one fist pierced through the evil god's body. There was no comparison. Luckily, I control my strength. Otherwise, if I smashed him and he revived somewhere else, that would be such a waste. Lin Fan felt fortunate. He patted his chest and was so terrified that his heart was jumping. Damn! Gamin hollered in rage. The body that was pierced started to recover. Numerous new eyeballs appeared once more, and they gave off a furious glow. At that moment, Gamin's eyeballs opened and the space seemed to have become sticky. Lin Fan felt like his body had become slow. What is going on? With his current strength, such a thing shouldn't have happened. When he noticed the mysterious glow in Gamin's eyes, he suddenly recalled that this might have been the evil god's ability. Did he make space slow down, or did he make time slow down? Suddenly, the darkness god domain in his body shook. Chief god power exploded and caused the slow space to return to normal. That feeling disappeared, and everything returned to the bottleneck. It is time to capture. Lin Fan didn't want to continue playing around. He wanted to understand the evil god's background and habits so that he could wipe them all out. At that moment, numerous Tao patterns surged out from his body. They were like pythons that circled in the air and swept towards Gamin. The Tao patterns turned into ropes and started to wrap around Gamin. Not long later, a furious voice spread out. Gamin struggled but realized that he couldn't break free. He was furious. He was actually trapped by the small blood food. Chapter 597. Shortly after, the Tao patterns slowly tightened. Gamin cried out. As the Tao patterns tightened really tightly, and he wasn't willing to, his eyeballs exploded and large amounts of purple blood seeped out. Small blood food. Gamin hollered in rage to vent the rage in his heart. You are still so stubborn even at such a time. Lin Fan squinted and smiled. The Tao patterns got tighter and tighter. There was a series of banging sounds, and the scene became a little bloody and terrifying. Evil God's methods were already really terrifying. But compared to Lin Fan's methods, there was still a gap. Maybe it was because the pain was unbearable. Evil God Gamen didn't continue to fight back. His body became smaller and smaller as the Tao patterns tightened. So evil gods can shrink. In the past, they did that to protect their image. After all, if they're too small, they will look really immature. Lin Fan thought about it. Maybe that was the case. Very quickly, Gamen's body became the size of a basketball. Numerous eyes gathered together, and they were really dense. People with trypophobia would be frightened to death when they saw this. Lin Fan landed in front of Mo Fu. Okay, I have captured the evil god. This trip was worth it. If you find more, you have to inform me. Before Mo Fu and the others could react, he waved his hands and left. When Lin Fan left, Mo Fu reacted and shouted, "Sect Leader Lin," regretfully. He didn't hear it. Lin Fan had already left and returned to Yu City. The old woman was shocked. He actually captured the evil god. Since ancient times, such a thing had never happened before. Suddenly, the old woman grabbed Mo Fu's hand and said emotionally, "Who is he? Maybe our world is saved." Mo Fu wanted to die. He had asked this question so many times, so why was he still asking it? But shortly after, Mo Fu's face became a little unnatural. "Can you let go of my hand? Although we had a secret love when we were young, we have broken up." Mo Fu was a little shy. His fingers were still moving along the back of the old woman's dry hand. Not bad. It was the same feeling as before. "Old thing, you're asking for a beating." The old woman was furious. She raised her staff and smacked towards Mo Fu's head. "You City." In the room, Gamen curled up and shivered. As an evil god, he naturally fought back, but the consequences came. He really couldn't take it, and it was too torturous. Now, many pairs of curious gazes were fixed on him, as if they wanted to dissect him. He really wanted to ask who these people were. "This is the evil god that treats us as food?" Lin Wani asked. Lin Fan nodded. Evil God Gamen, one of the top 30 evil gods. You should be peak Tao Realm Stage 7. Father should be at the same level as you. However, he should be a bit weaker than you. Lin Wani was really unhappy, but there was nothing he could do. He personally witnessed that the small evil god was really strong. Its strength could fight against him, and one could say that it was slightly weaker than him. "Fanner, what are you prepared to do?" Lin Wani asked. Evil God's problem was really important. If the 30th had such strength, then how strong would the ones in front be? Lin Wani wasn't the only one who was worried. Even Lin Fan himself was a little worried. He might have been at Tao Realm Stage 7, Tao returning to 1, and could fight Tao Realm Stage 9. But that was because he hadn't fought them before. He didn't know how special the skills above were. Sometimes a special skill could make him speechless. Lin Fan said, "I am prepared to gather some talents to research this thing." Research this thing? Lin Wani frowned and didn't ask anymore. "Since that is the case, then do as you see fit. But be careful, no matter what. We can't underestimate his strength." "I know," Lin Fan replied. He had already thought about it. Zhu Shun was definitely someone to research Evil God Gamen. Although he was a pig killer, he understood organs and was a rare talent. If Zhu Shun found out, he would spit at him. "You really are a talent to be able to think of such a stupid idea. This world is filled with danger. What is going on?" Su Yuanming frowned. He was wary of everything around. In the past, he was used to being arrogant and felt that no one dared to offend him. This was why no matter where they were, they would relax and fear nothing. But now, no matter where they were, they didn't dare to be careless. They even closed one eye when they slept. Maybe it was an exaggeration, but that was the rough meaning. Gu Yuan said, "It is better to be careful. Maybe the secret to breaking through to Tao Realm Stage 8 is here." Suddenly, there was movement around them, as if something had flashed past them. "Who?" Gu Yuan was shocked, and his hair stood on their ends. In the past, this was impossible, but after so many setbacks, they started to doubt their own strength. He thought that even if they weren't the strongest in the world, they would at least be top 3. But now he knew. It was fake. Everything was fake. They were really weak. Su Yuanming also noticed the shadow that flashed past and he looked around warily. Brother Gu, maybe we met the evil god that the mysterious person mentioned, Su Yuanming said. Suddenly, a dreamy voice came from all around him, sometimes near and sometimes far. Small living beings, your hearts are filled with panic. You are uneasy and afraid. You need someone to save you. Gu Yuan and Su Yuanming stood together like they were surrounded by numerous people. The world spun. Their brains spun uncontrollably. Where is it? To our right. The aura is the thickest there. I sensed it. Who is this person? What is his goal? Is it the evil god that the mysterious person mentioned that is related to the secret to breaking through to Tao Realm Stage 8? Maybe, maybe not, but we can't let him go. Since we came to this foreign world, we have to find out more news. Gu Yuan and Su Yuanming were talking to each other. They were indeed panicking, but the person they were panicking about was Lin Fan, not this guy who was trying to mystify things. The voice spread out once more. Lost sheep, there is no need to be afraid. There is no need to be lost because I am here at that moment. Gu Yuan and Su Yuanming moved. They were really quick and sped through the dimension. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at the place they just noticed. Come out, stop acting mysterious. Gu Yuan hollered in rage. He opened his fingers and grabbed something. It was slippery. It was also a little sticky. At the same time, it had a hard shell. When he saw what he grabbed, Gu Yuan's expression changed. He let go and exclaimed, "What is that?" Evil God was also frightened. He didn't expect that these insignificant blood food would directly grab him. It was quite strange. Instantly, the ground shook. Small blood food, you actually use your dirty hands to touch the noble evil god, Nakia's body. The roar shook the area. The thing Gu Yuan touched was like the front leg of a spider. It was covered in thick hair and sticky liquid. At the same time, beneath the hair, there were many mouths filled with sharp teeth. The ground cracked. A giant abyss appeared. Evil god Nakia lived underground, and he was about to come out. Gu Yuan and Su Yuanming came to where he was sleeping. Evil god Nakia was really interested in the two blood food that charged in. Brother Gu Yuan, we seem to have offended something amazing. Su Yuanming said. Right, Gu Yuan replied. But for some reason, he actually became excited. Maybe this was the evil god that the mysterious person mentioned. The key to breaking through to Tao Realm Stage 8. Su Yuanming turned around and noticed that Gu Yuan was really excited. Thinking about it, he understood why he was excited. Very quickly, Nakia's true form appeared. It was a huge spider, a behemoth. It had a human-like face, and its abdomen was a pile of meat paste stacked together. As it shook, many human skeletons fell out of the meat paste. Although the skeletons were small compared to his body, it looked like it was raining from afar. Small blood food, you are really lucky. It is your honor that you are able to see the true body of the noble Nakia. Nakia showed off his body. He was called the ruler of the underground, but he liked to be called the perfect person with the perfect body. Attack! Gu Yuan hollered. He didn't care about what Nakia was. He just wanted to know what the secret to breaking through to Tao Realm Stage 8 was. Su Yuanming followed closely behind and used his strongest attack right away. At that moment, the area shook and the evil god aura in the air was about to be wiped out. Evil god Nakia was stunned as he looked at those scenes. Something doesn't seem right. He muttered to himself. Things were different from what he thought. The two small blood food didn't fall to the ground from fear and instead attacked him. That was something that was hard to accept. How long? The ground started to shake. Who knew how long passed? Pung. Nakia, who had a giant body, was riddled with holes. He fell to the ground and large amounts of blood flowed down. Su Yuanming and Gu Yuan weren't in a good state, and their injuries were really bad. They didn't expect the monster to be so strong and nearly died to him. But a monster was just a monster, and they still died. Brother Gu, what should we do next? Su Yuanming asked. Just at that moment, an illusionary black shadow pounced on Nakia's corpse and started to crazily suck it. Very quickly, the giant corpse started to shrink until it turned into a dry corpse. It's you, Gu Yuan raged. Evil god Masaki said, Calm down. I'm telling you the truth. I didn't lie to you. Here, this is the chance to break through to Tao Realm Stage 8. As long as you consume it, you will open up a new path. A beating heart slowly flew in front of the two of them. After Nakya died, he could only revive in the abyss. As for this corpse, it wasn't his anymore. Chapter 598. The heart floated in front of him. Gu Yuan and Su Yuanming looked at one another. Let me do it. Gu Yuan took in a deep breath and grabbed the heart. He looked at Su Yuanming and said, if anything happens to me, don't worry about me. Leave this place and don't try to reach Tao Realm Stage 8. Brother Gu, let me do it, Su Yuanming said. They were fighting for it, and no one knew whether or not the mysterious man was telling the truth. Consuming the monster's heart. That was a really dangerous thing. Maybe they would die. Gu Yuan shook his head. No, I have pursued Tao Realm Stage 8 too deeply, and it has turned into an obsession. If something happens to you, I will continue to search. But if I am the one who consumes it, I will die without regrets. It will become letting go of my obsession. He knew Gu Yuan's personality. Although he was a cunning person, he treated him sincerely and never played tricks behind his back. Okay, Su Yuanming replied. Gu Yuan looked at the heart in his hand. He didn't hesitate and just wolfed it down. Very quickly, a complete heart was eaten by him just like that. Su Yuanming looked on nervously. What was going on? Suddenly, Gu Yuan opened his eyes and excitement appeared on his face. I saw it. Maybe he had suppressed it for too long. His tears were wet. He grabbed Su Yuanming's shoulder and said loudly, I saw Tao Realm Stage 8. That realm really exists, and it isn't a legend. Maybe in just a short time, I will become a Tao Realm Stage 8 expert. At that time, we will be able to take back everything that we lost. To Gu Yuan, he just wanted to take back what he lost. Su Yuanming was delighted. What? It is hard to say. This is a feeling. In the past, I couldn't feel that there was a path to take, but now everything is clear. It is like the wall in front of me has disappeared. Gu Yuan said excitedly. Su Yuanming didn't know what that feeling was, but he was really happy. Gu Yuan was able to succeed, which meant that the mysterious man was right, and he didn't lie. Su Yuanming looked at the mysterious man. Why did you do that? Gu Yuan calmed down from his excitement. He looked towards the mysterious man, just like what Su Yuanming said. What was the other party's motive? Evil God Masaki smiled. No reason, we just took what we needed. You have seen what I need, and you have gotten what you need. Now we can talk. Gu Yuan said, what is there to talk about? Since we know the method, we will find it ourselves. There is no need to trouble you. Kiki, maybe arrogance will kill you. Since that is the case, then forget it. The four alliances have so many sect leaders waiting. I think they will be more interested. Evil God Masaki said. Wait. Gu Yuan frowned. What do you mean? Evil God Masaki teased. Nothing much. You were lucky to meet Evil God Nakya. He is the weakest among the evil gods, so the two of you could kill him. But if we meet a powerful evil god, the two of you would have already become slaves. He needed evil god flesh and blood. With his current strength, he was unable to fight against the evil god, so he needed help. But these people from the four alliances weren't easy to deal with. They wanted to work alone after getting benefits. Evil god Masaki didn't care about Gu Yuan and continued. Each evil god knows how to hide. If they don't want to appear, even if you flip the entire sky, you won't be able to find them. But with my help, I will tell you where the weak evil gods are. Gu Yuan hated such a feeling, but he had no choice. He had to help Su Yuanming see the path to Stage 8. Okay, deal. We can work with you, but you can't tell this secret to others. Gu Yuan said. Evil god Masaki smiled. Okay, but you are really greedy. You took the path to advancement for yourself. If you become evil gods, you should belong to greed. Gu Yuan and Su Yuanming were wary of this mysterious person. Working with him was like asking a tiger for its skin. The key was that they knew that he had a goal, but they couldn't reject him. They needed his help. They could only sink deeper and deeper. But the two of them were confident that they would be able to escape at the crucial moment and not get swept into this whirlpool. Marshall Path Mountain. Another bunch of people surrounded Gamin. Moreover, There were many of them this time. Sect leader, this is an evil god? Is so disgusting. Water Emperor looked at him without blinking. He stared at his eyes and wanted to know what this thing relied on to survive. It had no limbs, no body, no mouth, so why didn't it eat? Nine Demon tried its best to climb the table. Large amounts of saliva flowed out of its 9 heads like a flood. Those 18 eyes were shining. He wanted to eat it. He really wanted to eat it. Be good, stop playing. I will let you play with it once the research is over. Lin Fan patted Nine Demon's head to calm it down. Damn, it even wanted to eat such a disgusting thing. What a pet. He then looked towards Water Emperor. You old fellow only knows how to brag. This is the thing in the ocean eye. Now that place has been opened, we're his Tao Realm Stage 8. Water Emperor took a deep breath. You can't blame me. How would know what is down there? I'm just guessing. The divinator said, it is really evil. If we don't care about it, it might become a disaster. Young Master Lin, what should we do next? Zhao Lishan asked. He stared at the evil god and felt huge pressure. He was really strong, and if he faced him, he would probably die. Prepare to study it. There are many evil gods, and this is just one of the weaker ones. Zhu Shun, you are a butcher, so take a look at his body structure. Lin Fan said. Zhu Shun was stunned as he looked at Lin Fan. I'm a butcher. Now that he asked me such a profound question, how was I supposed to reply? It wasn't that Gamin didn't understand what he was saying, but that he didn't dare to speak. He didn't know what these people were doing. He was an evil god. Now that he was captured here, not only was he surrounded by a bunch of people, but he was also being studied. If other evil gods heard this, they wouldn't believe it. Why? Is it difficult? Lin Fan asked. This? I don't think so. Zhu Shun thought about it and shook his head. His tone was uncertain as he hadn't studied it before. There were a few shining butcher knives beside the table, and the tools were all prepared. Since there was no problem, then why wasn't he attacking? Zhu Shun could only bite the bullet and try. After turning into a pig, it wasn't convenient in all aspects. He could only control a butcher knife to make it float. The butcher knife waved around Gamin. Everyone looked on, and their palms were sweating. This was the first time they had experienced such a scene. It was really quick. The pig slaughtering knife pierced straight into Gamin. Instantly, Gamin screamed. Damn, so disgusting. His eyeball exploded. Zhu Shun, can you say something before you attack? Is so horrifying. Right, fortunately, I didn't eat today, otherwise I would want to vomit. Zhu Shun's expression was solemn. He controlled a butcher knife to rip open the wound. Everyone stuck their heads in and wanted to see what the evil god's body looked like. That is weird. I have killed pigs for so many years and have never seen such a body structure. It doesn't even have organs. Wait, what is that pearl? Zhu Shun exclaimed like he had discovered a new continent. Gamin, on the other hand, was furious. He was so furious that he couldn't say a word. An evil god was actually being treated like that by these small blood food. Damn. I see it. What is that? It is the only thing in the body. It should be very important. That is hard to say. If I take it out, maybe I can study it. Lin Fan was curious. He reached his hand into Gamin's body and wanted to take it out. Water Emperor shuddered and felt disgusted. He looked at the liquid in the monster's body and couldn't bear to look at it. There was a poochie. Lin Fan took out the thing that they thought was a pearl. A bunch of people crowded over. They looked at it for a long while, but didn't recognize what it was. Although it was shaped like a bead, it seemed to be alive. It was even moving as if it was breathing. Everyone found it tough to recognize what it was. Since they didn't know, then they would ask Gamin what it was. But when he looked towards evil god Gamin, he noticed that Gamin laid on the table and didn't move at all. It is dead? Lin Fan's expression was weird, and he was filled with disbelief. Zhu Shun stabbed a few more times and didn't hear any screams. He said awkwardly, it seems like it is really dead. Haze, even this is an evil god. It is just too weak. Water Emperor was filled with disdain. Zhao Lishan looked at Lin Fan and the others and sighed. They were just too unreliable. What a waste. Lin Fan was helpless. He retracted the Tao patterns that wrapped around Gamin's body. It wasn't easy for them to find an evil god and then capture it. Before they could study it, it died because of an inappropriate move. This could only mean that life was too fragile. 9 Demon jumped onto the table, and its 9 heads ate crazily. The table was covered in unknown liquid, and a few eyeballs rolled to the side. Water Emperor wanted to keep one of those eyeballs. Who knew that 9 Demon's tongue would even sweep the eyeballs? Young Master Lin, what should we do with this thing? Zhao Lishan asked. I haven't studied it fully, so I will keep it with me. Next time when I meet someone who knows, I will ask. Lin Fan said, Of course. To Lin Fan, this wasn't something important. Its body was so weak, so how could it give birth to anything good? But he felt that Gamin didn't say anything at all. It was just too stubborn. Or was it because it was too painful that its voice was hoarse? Scoff. This reason was really convincing. Chapter 599. To Lin Fan, the evil gods were just a bunch of monsters who had weird skills and were quite strong. As for whether or not they were undead, he didn't know. If he could see a lively Gamin next time, maybe he could prove that Gamin was undead. Guys, the enemy we are facing is one that knows how to hide. They are cowards and don't dare to fight us head-on. They only dare to hide in the dark and attack normal civilians. Lin Fan said. Zhao Lishan frowned and said solemnly, Such an enemy is indeed problematic. Even if we attack, it will be tough to find them. I hate these cowards the most. Water Emperor raged. His expression was real, like he really hated them. He didn't ask Lin Fan to bring him out to see the world. The key was that these monsters were really ugly. Just now, one knife caused their eyeballs to explode. Just thinking about it made him feel terrified. At that moment, news spread. The believers were praying and spreading news from various places. Lin Fan's brows furrowed. The news that the believers sent over was a little different. Zhao Lishan noticed that Lin Fan's expression wasn't right and asked, Young Master Lin, did something happen? I just received news that the evil gods are a little quick. The environment 100 miles around a city has changed, and many things that shouldn't exist have appeared. They can't solve it, so I have to personally take a look. Lin Fan said. Water Emperor recommended himself. Sect leader, how can I sit still and do nothing? I want to head over with you. In the end, curiosity won over disgust. Water Emperor still wanted to take a look. Initially, Lin Fan didn't want to bring the Water Emperor along, but after thinking about it, he felt that he might be of use to him. Okay, let's go. Lin Fan nodded and agreed to bring Water Emperor over. At the same time, he told the believers that they could retreat. Since they couldn't solve it, then they should leave in case anything happened. Alliance Investigation Department. When the evil gods invaded the Alliance, they realized that the people here had high requirements in terms of material and spiritual resources. They liked this place and thus gave up on the rich land and those blood and food that didn't have much spiritual requirements. Officer, there have been many unknown murders recently, and the killer hasn't been found. It has caused a small area of panic. The Alliance investigator reported. There were very few murders in the Alliance. All of this was built on a complete monitoring system. Any murderer would have nowhere to hide. But this time, it gave them a huge headache. Even after checking every surveillance camera, they still couldn't find the suspect. Increase the search. We can't let something like this happen again. Yes. The Alliance's highest art exhibition center. Each of the paintings here was of the highest standard in the Alliance. To be able to display a painting here meant that one was a top-notch master. At this moment, the art exhibition center was packed with people. They whispered to each other. I heard that Zhou Daoqi also attended the art exhibition. When he first debuted, he was hailed as the genius of a new era who was most likely to rival the art saint, Bai Shan. Yes, it's him. It's just a pity that he was at the peak when he debuted. I don't know what happened after that, but his paintings got worse and worse. He's even worse than a third-rate painter. This exhibition is the top one in the Alliance. How'd he get in? Suddenly, in the distance, a group of people were gathered in front of a picture. Although there were many people, the scene was very quiet. There was not even the slightest noise. This scene aroused the curiosity of many people. What kind of painting was it? It was so mesmerizing. Slowly, there were more and more people there. When they saw that painting, everyone's eyes couldn't move away. They were completely attracted by it. It was hard to describe what it was. However, the use of color had a great impact on their souls. Some people shifted their gazes and wanted to know which master it was. Zhou Daoqi. When they saw the name, everyone was filled with disbelief. In a random messy corridor, a man in a suit picked up the phone with a look of joy on his face. After saying a few words, he hung up the phone and knocked on the tightly shut door. Master Zhou, someone at the art exhibition has offered a price of 40 million alliance dollars. I hope that you can make a trip to the venue and tell the buyer about your thoughts when you created the painting. He was really emotional. He didn't have much hope for Zhou Daoqi. After all, he was an outdated artist. If it was when Zhou Daoqi just debuted, it would be really hard to get a painting. His paintings became uglier and uglier, and people thought that he had lost his talent. But now, once he became a god, he was in the limelight. But after a long while, still, no one replied. In the room, Zhou Daoqi's clothes were messy and the room was filled with paint. He sat there, the brush in his hand, leaving marks on the canvas. Perfect, perfect. His expression was crazy and excited. His eyes were obviously different from ordinary people's. These paints are really too perfect. This is the pinnacle of art. The colors of these paints were very strange. The bright red color was like fresh blood. The room was filled with a faint smell of blood. Knock, knock. Someone knocked on the door. Zhou Daoqi was getting more and more agitated. The man outside the door frowned. Could something have happened inside? Just as he was about to knock again, the door was opened before his hand touched the door. He smiled and wanted to tell Zhou Daoqi about the situation at the art exhibition. But before he could speak, he was frightened by Zhou Daoqi's ferocious face, and his face turned pale. The atmosphere suddenly froze. The surroundings seemed to have frozen. What do you want to do? Zhou Daoqi's voice was really cold. He felt like his heart was frozen. Master Zhou, I don't want to do anything. I just want to inform you that your painting is really popular and a buyer bought it for 40 million. I want to invite you over to tell that buyer. Before he finished, Zhou Daoqi interrupted him. I'm not interested. Don't disturb me. Pa! Zhou Daoqi slammed the door shut. He was stunned on the spot, and sweat seeped out of his forehead. He was really frightened by Zhou Daoqi. Maybe all masters had weird tempers. He could only guess like that. Sect leader, that place seems a little off. Water Emperor followed beside Lin Fan and looked at the ground. It was dark red and mixed with black. It was like the abyss of hell. Lin Fan was annoyed. These evil gods are really hard to defend against. It seems like we have to think a way to get rid of them. If we let them continue, one day they will get out of hand. Evil God Gammon gave Water Emperor a normal feeling. He even felt that it was a little weak. Thus, his impression of evil gods wasn't as terrifying as he thought. The two of them landed on the ground. Water Emperor raised his leg and exclaimed, "What is this? Why is it so sticky?" He took a close look. He exclaimed, "Oh my God, this is meat paste." Water Emperor looked at his shoes, and there was some meat paste on it. As he shook it, it slowly fell to the ground. The surrounding trees had dried up, and occasionally some dead leaves would fall and mix with the meat paste. Sect leader, it seems like no one can live here. How would they do that? Even Evil Alliance and Monster Alliance wouldn't do such a thing. Water Emperor's heart jumped, and he exclaimed how terrifying it was. If he wasn't mentally strong, he would have collapsed to the ground. Damn evil god. Lin Fan sucked in a deep breath and suppressed the rage in his heart. Was that even something a human would do? Lin Fan walked towards the city ahead. Water Emperor shouted from behind and realized that Lin Fan didn't care about him. He was helpless and could only follow behind. When the two of them stood outside the city, they saw many complete corpses hanging on the city walls. The entire city was covered in a dark aura. This is really vicious, and it doesn't look like it's done by a human. Even Shidao sect can't compare to this. Water Emperor said. Shidao sect was from the Blood Demon faction, and their cultivation techniques were cruel, but compared to the situation here, it was nothing. This bunch of damn evil gods. At least the four alliances dare to fight me, but these people only dare to play small tricks and attack normal people. Lin Fan said coldly. His tone was filled with disdain towards evil gods. They entered the city. It was really empty, and there was no life at all. When their feet landed on the ground covered in meat paste, they felt like there was something moving below. Evil God, what are you? If you have balls, then show your true body to fight me. What is the meaning of killing normal people? Or are you evil gods, just a bunch of cowardly trash that don't dare to appear? Lin Fan scolded. The entire city was empty, which meant that at least tens of thousands of people died to the evil gods. In your words, you are just a bunch of small evil gods. Lin Fan mocked to his heart's content, towards the existence of evil gods. He was curious at the start, and now he was filled with hatred. He even wanted to come. Apart from being selfish, those people from the four alliances were much better than those evil gods. At least they wouldn't slaughter the entire city. Sect leader, is there any use in scolding them? Water Emperor asked. No matter whether or not, these evil gods are dead. Lin Fan said. He thought about something. Once we return, don't stay on Marshall Path Mountain. Defend the cities in case evil gods infiltrate. He was prepared to head to St. Hall to ask Mo Fu how he did the light barrier that blocked evil gods. He had to do one for all the cities. But the main point was to find out what the problem was. Now that there were no more normal people left, he didn't need to be polite. Instantly, a terrifying aura spread out from Lin Fan's body. The aura was like a sharp wind blade that sliced everything around. He wanted to force out the person hiding here. Chapter 600. The aura that Lin Fan gave off was just too terrifying. The building collapsed. The meat paste on the ground seemed to have been scooped up by a shovel. CS, a weird sound spread out from all around. Although it was weak, everyone could hear it. Lin Fan was really vicious and didn't give him any chance to turn the situation around. Evil God, are you still not coming out? Lin Fan raged. His voice was like a gust of wind that blew to every corner of the city. He wanted to force the evil god out. The Book of the Evil God recorded that only Evil God Silo had such a special ability. The Master of Decay loved to turn the land he occupied into a land of decay. After normal people were killed by him, vengeful spirits would live here and suffer from the torture of the decay energy. Although he didn't see any vengeful spirits, the changes in the environment were similar to what was written in the Book of the Evil God. Sect leader, no one replied. Maybe he isn't even here. Water Emperor said. He felt that the evil god was too much. He targeted normal people, and that was just too shameless. Couldn't he be more like an expert? As an expert, he wouldn't attack normal people. But these evil gods were really shameless. They targeted normal people and attacked them. Water Emperor wanted to slap them. He wanted to question these evil gods. Were they sick in the head? Couldn't they see how kind these normal people were? You could even do that. So how could you be considered an evil god expert? That was so F***ing embarrassing. At that moment, the surrounding environment was flattened and collapsed buildings were everywhere. The dust was thick and covered the sky. Doesn't matter whether or not he is here. If he is, then I will teach him a lesson. If he isn't, then it is okay. He won't be able to escape. Lin Fan hated this person. Maybe it was Evil God Silo. Maybe it wasn't. But it didn't matter. No matter whether it was or not, as long as he saw him, he had to kill him. Evil God's appearance made Lin Fan feel that life was about to become fun. But after some things, he didn't think that it was fun anymore. Instead, these people were provoking him and harming the people in his territory. Water Emperor felt that these evil gods were sick in the head. If they wanted to prove how strong they were, they could have just fought Lin Fan head-on. As long as they killed Lin Fan, they would be able to prove that they were the strongest people in the world. But now, Water Emperor couldn't understand what the evil gods were doing. What did it prove by attacking ordinary citizens? Unless it was a real psychopath, such a thing shouldn't have happened. Lin Fan focused on the situation within the city. He didn't find anything unusual. The opponent that had appeared now was different from what he had imagined in the past. In the past, as long as his opponent was up to no good, he would definitely leave behind some unspeakable secret. But now, after these evil gods harmed the commoners, they left just like that. They even changed the environment to where evil gods were used to staying. They did it casually and didn't care at all. Sect leader, the situation around makes me uncomfortable. These evil gods are really cunning. They knew that we were coming, so they left ahead of time. They didn't leave any clues at all. Water Emperor said. Lin Fan's expression was ugly. He gritted his teeth and said, "They are forcing me to fight to the death with them." Water Emperor looked at Lin Fan with a stunned expression. He had a feeling that something incredible was about to happen. "All right, you head back first. Leave everything here to me," Lin Fan said. Water Emperor wanted to say that he wanted to follow and see the world, but Lin Fan stared at him. He had many things he wanted to say, but he swallowed them all. He could only nod his head. I understand. He knew that Sect Leader Lin was on the verge of exploding. It was as if he could explode at any moment. Maybe the evil gods went overboard. It totally infuriated Lin Fan. City of Hope. Mo Fu. What method did you use to protect the city in the light barrier? Lin Fan asked. In order to prevent more cities from suffering disasters, he could only prepare for defense. Mo Fu was stunned. The evil gods attacked your city. It is serious. Everyone in the city disappeared, and the area 100 miles around was infected. Lin Fan said. He was so furious that his liver was about to explode. He really wanted to kill all the evil gods. This is tough. The light barrier protecting our city came from the evil god's power. Your place was just discovered, and there isn't a fixed evil god to lend power to you. It is impossible to form this light barrier. Mo Fu said. The reason why they were able to last till now under the invasion of evil gods was because of those evil gods who were willing to help them. If not for them, it wouldn't have been possible. Lin Fan thought about it. If that was the case, then it would be tough. He wouldn't trust those evil gods. Suddenly, an idea flashed in his mind. He thought about an idea. He had the darkness god domain. If he let his believers bring his statue to the various cities, and then he would use his own technique to form a light barrier, he should be able to block the evil god aura. He hadn't tested it before. He didn't know whether or not it would be useful. But he could try. If he succeeded, he would be able to save a lot of trouble. Mo Fu saw that Sect Leader Lin didn't say anything and thought that he was worried about this matter. Sect Leader Lin, if not, why don't I communicate with the evil gods and help you ask? Mo Fu said. Lin Fan said, no need, believe in your own strength. Actually, using evil gods' power isn't a solution. Mo Fu was helpless. We have no choice. If not for evil gods lending us power, we wouldn't be able to fight them. You should understand our difficulties. Lin Fan could understand Mo Fu and the others' difficulties. They were able to survive until now because of the power of the other evil gods. Maybe that evil god really wanted them to live. But to Lin Fan, all of this was too fake. Without strength, one would always be controlled by others. One day, the evil god that used their strength would suddenly turn on them when they reached a certain goal. That would be an irreversible disaster for Mo Fu and the others. Lin Fan patted Mo Fu's shoulder. Don't worry, I can understand your pain. But now that I am here, I am prepared to fight to the death with the evil gods. With me here, everything that I said won't happen. Don't worry. Sect Leader Lin, why do I feel like you're acting cool in front of me? Mo Fu was stunned as he looked at Lin Fan. Illusion, do you think I am such a person? Lin Fan said. Mo Fu thought about it. Although that is possible, I believe in your character. The two of them looked at one another. Everything was communicated through their eyes. Mo Fu, I am prepared to stay here for a period of time. I hope to get more news about evil gods. Even if you think that it might be their hiding place, you have to tell me. Lin Fan was prepared to attack. He didn't want to wait anymore. Evil God's invasion was silent, and he didn't know about it all. So, he wanted to find the evil gods and suppress them. He wanted to let them understand that if they dared to cause trouble in his territory, they would have to pay a price. Sect Leader Lin, This is a little problematic. Mo Fu said regretfully, evil gods don't need to hide. They're in a different dimension from us. Only when they want to appear will they appear in front of us. Otherwise, we will never be able to find them. Of course, I can tell you where they might hide. Maybe we will really meet one or two evil gods. Mo Fu didn't have Lin Fan's courage. Even if he knew where the evil gods were, he didn't dare to search for them. To be able to protect this pure land was his biggest wish. That's good. Prepare the location. I still have some things to deal with, Lin Fan said. Then, Lin Fan left the City of Hope. He used the Chief God Light barrier, and with himself, as the center, a streak of light exploded. The thick evil god aura was blocked outside and couldn't enter at all. Success. Lin Fan was delighted. He didn't expect the darkness god domain to be so skilled. It seemed like he had underestimated them, using believers to craft statues and place them in the various cities to form faith links and release the Chief God Light barrier. When that happened, evil god aura wouldn't be able to invade, and evil gods would personally descend. As long as they dared to descend, they would definitely destroy them. Just at that moment, Lin Fan noticed that the space in front of him was shaking intensely. There was a thick evil god power gathering. An evil god found his way here. Apart from evil gods, no one else could produce such power fluctuations. Shortly after, 3 evil gods were forming in front of Lin Fan. Very quickly, they formed successfully. However, these 3 evil gods looked very different from the ones he had seen before. Human, I heard that you have been searching for evil gods. The evil god in the middle opened his mouth. His voice was always so dry and monotonous. Who are you? Lin Fan asked. He didn't see such evil gods in the book of the evil god. 3 evil gods, 3 pillar gods. As a human, your strength has reached evil god realm. That is indeed unbelievable. You can become a new evil god and enjoy the power and undying of evil gods. At the same time, you'll have the right to eat blood. Lin Fan smiled. Nonsense. Evil gods are nothing. Stop trying to be mysterious. If you have balls, then all of you appear. If I even frown, then I will change my surname to yours. Blood food? If you have balls, then show yourselves. I want to show you who is the real blood food. Lin Fan knew that the 3 evil gods who didn't dare to show themselves were trying to recruit him. But he didn't care about them at all. A bunch of fellows who had successfully cultivated somewhere had relied on their own strangeness and strength to pretend to be evil gods. They had even treated them as food. He couldn't care less about the other dimensions. But as long as they dared to invade his territory, then he would fight them to the end. In that case, they would just fight to the end. There was no need to talk so much nonsense. Chapter 601. Human, don't be too arrogant. You should know who you are facing. The 3 pillar gods were furious. They didn't expect the small blood food to dare to speak to them like that. They didn't know. Lin Fan really didn't know who they were and treated them as evil gods. If Mo Fu was at the side, naturally he would recognize the 3 of them. They were people even more terrifying than evil gods. But didn't the 3 pillar gods not exist anymore? Then where did these 3 come from? Lin Fan said, no matter who you are, I will always say the same thing. If you have balls, then show yourselves. No matter how many evil gods you send, I will take them on. What skill is there in attacking normal people? That is what the weak do. He was really confused by these evil gods and didn't know where to find them. If they dared to report their location, they would have fought their way over and wouldn't have given them such a chance. Human, you will pay a price for your actions. The 3 pillar gods hollered in rage. Even if they were just illusions, the sky shook. Kiki, if you have balls, then come. Lin Fan raged. He didn't care about their threats at all. In the deep abyss, the bunch of evil gods communicated with one another. The rough meaning was that they didn't scare them and instead made them furious. They didn't expect this to happen. They knew that the newly opened blood food world was problematic. There was an expert inside who had been searching for them and said that he was going to kill them. When they heard the news, they just wanted to laugh. It was impossible to kill them, as they were undying. Even if they were killed, they could revive in the deep abyss. They just needed to pay a small price. But Gamin and Nakyu were killed, which made them pay more attention to Lin Fan. An expert appeared in Blood Food World. To be able to kill evil gods would definitely affect the process of them enjoying blood food. But why did he use the faces of the 3 pillar gods? Naturally, they were the top of the evil gods and felt that it was easy to scare people. What a waste. They weren't scared. Damn, these people are so cunning. Lin Fan was really impressed. Even if they came to find him, they didn't dare to use their true bodies. But it was okay. He was prepared to fight them to the death. He was waiting for Mo Fu to tell him the addresses. Then, he would look for them one by one. He didn't believe that he couldn't find them. A few days later, what he had ordered his followers to do had already been done. Every powerful follower took the statue and scattered to various cities. To the commoners of those cities, this statue was very unfamiliar. Even if someone told them that believing in God would give them protection, not many people would believe it. This needed to be done. Normally, if the statue was placed there and people worshipped it, then it would really be strange. Connecting to those statues, the faith in the darkness god domain was slowly consumed. Those cities were covered in light to block the invasion of evil god Aura. City of Hope. Are you ready? Lin Fan asked. Mo Fu grabbed a cowhide map. Sec Leader Lin, are you sure? Of course it's confirmed. How could it be fake? Lin Fan replied. These evil gods were bullies. They had such a comfortable life, and people would serve them no matter what they did. Now, they had to run all day. Their cultivation might have been high, but it was actually really tiring. Mo Fu passed the leather map to Lin Fan. I have marked the locations here. These places are marked based on legends. Maybe there are evil gods. Maybe there aren't, but no matter what, be careful. There are weak evil gods, but there are also strong ones. If you meet strong evil gods, don't offend them. They could be said to be omnipotent gods. Lin Fan opened the map and looked at it carefully. To Mo Fu and the others, they understood right away. But to Lin Fan, it was a little foreign. Thank you, Lin Fan said. Mo Fu patted Lin Fan's shoulder. Fighting evil gods is a long war, and it can't be solved in a short time. Lin Fan said, let's not talk about all this. I will head to these places to take a look. Good luck. Mo Fu knew that it was useless no matter what he said. He just hoped that Lin Fan could find them. They had fought evil gods for so long, and they were a little numb. But more than that, they were filled with hope for the future. Although the hope was small, because of that hope, they were able to last till now. When their world was invaded by evil gods, some people went to find them. They want to question them why they treated them like that. But there was only a beginning and no end. In the end, no one knew whether they lived or died. More people believed that the person who asked the evil god why he was doing this should be dead. In a pitch-black mountain range. The mountain range was bare. There were no trees at all. There weren't even any beasts, and it was like a barren land. At that moment, a person appeared in the mountain range. His fat body was really clumsy, and it was really eye-catching. This is the place. The smell is the thickest here. Monster Emperor sniffed. He smelled a familiar smell. That smell was the smell of the tentacle that he ate. He found this place based on the smell. Monster Emperor raised his hand. Because his arm was too fat, it seemed really short. He hollered and punched down, smashing the black ground. A terrifying power burst out in an instant. Kacha! The mountain range shook and the ground cracked. A deep crack appeared, deep underground. In a palace, a giant being was sleeping, and it was woken up by the commotion. It slowly opened its eyes. Who is disturbing the noble evil god's sleep? The awakened evil god will bring destruction. Evil god Lula stood up, and a terrifying evil god Aura spread out, forming a storm that struck all around. Outside, Monster Emperor smashed the mountain range, and an aura spread out from below. Excitement appeared on his face. As expected, it is here. I have searched for so long. He knew that the person he was searching for was strong, so he wasn't careless. He hollered, and something in his body swelled up. It caused Monster Emperor's body to become bigger and bigger. It is you use small blood food. Evil god Lula appeared from the depths of the ground. His giant body stood tall in the sky. He had an octopus head, a human body, and a pair of giant wings on his back. When Monster Emperor saw him, his blood boiled, and he pounced towards evil god Lula. Scoff! Evil god Lula looked at him in shock. He didn't expect that a small blood food would actually ignore how terrifying he was and charge at him. Shortly after, he was furious. A small blood food dared to provoke him. That was insulting the noble evil god. Monster Emperor's desire burned. He wanted to swallow him. Just one tentacle wasn't enough. He needed more of his flesh and blood. How long? A battle exploded. Evil god Lula wasn't weak, and one could even say that he was really strong. Poochie. Monster Emperor's body was pierced by the tentacle, and large amounts of blood flowed down. Even the black ground was dyed red. Small blood food. This is the outcome of challenging evil gods. Lula hollered in rage. He had never seen such an arrogant person. He even reached a level where he didn't know his place. Now, he was going to make him pay a heavy price. But suddenly, something shocking happened. Monster Emperor grabbed evil god Lula's tentacle and opened his mouth. His expression was vicious and maniacal as he bit down. Poochie. Evil god's blood splattered. Ah! Lula screamed miserably. Who was this person? Only evil gods swallowed others, and no one had ever swallowed them. Monster Emperor felt that he wanted to retract his tentacle. So how could he let him do that? You want to run? Keep dreaming. To Monster Emperor, he just wanted to swallow the evil god in front of him. His body made him happy, and even his strength was slowly increasing. At the same time, he could make up for what he lacked. Evil god's flesh and blood had something that he lacked. Small thing. Evil god Lula hollered. His tentacle broke through the air. It was really quick, and the dimension was ripped apart. Instantly, it pierced many bloody holes in Monster Emperor's body. Logically speaking, even if Monster Emperor didn't die from such heavy injuries, he would have been badly injured. But Monster Emperor looked like he was on drugs. He allowed his body to be dyed red, and he still laughed out loud. It belongs to me. Your entire body belongs to me. Monster Emperor hollered. He tore the tentacle that pierced through his body and then jumped up. He swallowed the tentacle in his hand and then landed on evil god Lula's body. Small thing scrammed down from my body. Evil god Lula hollered in rage. Monster Emperor raised his head and his mouth opened wide. The madness in his eyes became more and more obvious. He then landed and bit Lula's neck. Crack! There was the sound of flesh being pierced. Selah! Monster Emperor shook his head and bit off a large piece of evil god flesh and blood. Damn! Lula grabbed towards Monster Emperor. Although Monster Emperor wasn't small, compared to him, he was still small. Monster Emperor was really quick. He dodged left and right and continued to tear off the flesh and blood on Lula's body. Ah! Lula screamed. Could he scold him now? Damn! Where did this person come from? He even dared to eat evil god flesh and blood. Wasn't he afraid that he would die? To Lula, he felt like there were ants biting his body. Large pieces of flesh were being bitten off. Even if he wanted to pinch this person to death, it would be tough. I need more flesh and blood. Excitement shone in Monster Emperor's eyes. Excitement. He was just too excited. He really felt that the digested flesh and blood was making up for what he lacked. He thought that the evil god form was the final form. But now he realized that it wasn't. This wasn't the final form. Pata! Ha, I caught you. Evil god Lula laughed out loud. But shortly after, he cried out in pain. The hand that grabbed Monster Emperor spread out a heart-wrenching pain. The palm was disappearing at a visible speed. When he released his palm, a dense pack of sharp teeth appeared on Monster Emperor's body. These teeth were the ones that bit Lula's palm until only bones were left. Then, tragic cries could be heard from the desolate mountain range. It was just that in this tragic voice. There were also chewing sounds like someone was eating something. Chapter 602. Desolate Mountain Range. Lula's giant body laid there and didn't move at all. Monster Emperor squatted at the side like he was eating some delicious food. Evil god Lula didn't expect things to turn out like this. Each time the Monster Emperor bit his flesh and blood, the pain struck him, making him feel pain that he had never felt before. Slowly, evil god Lula's screams became weaker and weaker. Even if Monster Emperor was covered in wounds and his body was riddled with holes, he still maintained his eating posture. In the end, the screams disappeared. In this desolate mountain range, evil gods became blood food and were being eaten. Monster Emperor was indeed fierce. He didn't hesitate to swallow such disgusting beings like evil gods. He even seemed like he was addicted to it. One had to say that this was really terrifying. No one knew whether Monster Emperor was a human or a demon. A long time ago, Monster Emperor started to become abnormal. Deep Abyss. Evil god Lula revived in rage. His furious roar reverberated throughout the deep abyss. However, there was a tinge of fear in his roar. It was like when he thought about what Monster Emperor did to him, he panicked. Was that guy even a human being? He was an evil god, but he died in such a tragic manner. The humiliation was unforgettable. Hatred filled his heart, and he really wanted to swallow that person up. Lula didn't like staying in the deep abyss. This place was pitch black, and there was no sound and no light. There was no place where those small blood food lived that made him feel more comfortable. Thus, not long after reviving, Lula left the deep abyss and returned to a familiar place. Monster Emperor's stomach was like a bottomless hole that swallowed. Such a giant corpse was swallowed by Monster Emperor in a short time. The taste is not bad. It makes up for my flaws and is perfect, but it is far from enough. Monster Emperor had his own thoughts. He needed to make up for his flaws. Those people from Insect Valley wouldn't let him go. One day, he would have to face them. Monster Emperor was in deep thought. He wanted to continue to search for evil gods, but he didn't know where they were. To be able to find Lula, he had to rely on the tentacle that he snatched to track Lula based on his scent. Now that his target was dead, then, suddenly, Monster Emperor's expression changed like he noticed something huge. This aura has appeared again. Isn't he already dead? Monster Emperor was stunned. Maybe to him, this was something unbelievable. With his brain, it was hard for him to understand what was the reason behind it. Maybe they are brothers. In the end, Monster Emperor found a reasonable answer to answer his questions. He followed the scent. What evil god Lula didn't know was that Monster Emperor had his eyes on him. He rushed over just to eat more evil gods. Was this behavior too much? Actually, it wasn't excessive at all. This map is giving me a headache. Lin Fan looked at the cowhide map in his hands. To be honest, he didn't really understand it. He could vaguely understand a little, but as for the specifics, it really depended on whether or not the heavens gave him the chance. If he knew, he would have asked Mo Fu to find someone who understood diagrams to guide him. Unfortunately, in order to show off his ability, he pretended to know what he didn't know. This made things very difficult for others. He was currently in a forest. Evil God's aura was still so thick. However, these leaves were not green. Instead, they were gray. At a glance, it was as if they were in a gray world. This doesn't look like a place with evil gods. Lin Fan sighed and felt a little helpless. It was too difficult to find the path of evil gods. These people knew how to hide, and it made him feel really helpless. He didn't know when he would reach the end. Suddenly, with a show, there was the sound of air being torn apart. The sound came from behind. Listening closely, it sounded like something was being shot out. But to Lin Fan, he didn't care about such things anymore. Several sharp silver spears tore through the air. When the silver spears were about to touch Lin Fan, they were blocked by an energy wall. They couldn't enter at all, and then lost their momentum and fell to the ground. Lin Fan turned his head and noticed that there were a few ropes swaying in the distance. Mechanism. It definitely wasn't an evil god who could set up mechanisms. After all, evil gods were confident in their own strength. So why would they use such methods? There was already such a situation, and there were still people here. Lin Fan was suspicious. Who were these mechanisms used to deal with? Evil god? Stop joking. He would rather believe that he was joking in front of evil gods and make them laugh to death than believe in such a thing. Not to mention evil gods. Even against the old era rulers, these mechanisms were like a joke. Don't attack. He is a human and not an evil god servant. A voice spread from the distance. Movement spread out. Someone jumped down from the tree, and when he landed on the ground, he stepped on the gray leaves and gave out a crisp sound. That is weird. I didn't sense anyone around. Lin Fan was shocked. With his strength, as long as there was someone around, they wouldn't be able to escape from his senses. Very quickly, a few weird-looking people walked out from the darkness. Lin Fan looked at them and was confused. They weren't strong, and the gap between them and those people in City of Hope was huge. Even Mach could challenge a bunch of them. I am sorry. I thought that you were an evil god servant, so I used a mechanism on you. Fortunately, you were fine. Otherwise, I really don't know what to do. A middle-aged man walked out. His clothes were different from those in City of Hope. It was like it was woven from some plant, and he looked like he was wearing a cloth. It was colorful and not ugly. I am okay. Lin Fan smiled and then asked curiously, "You are from the 12 cities?" The middle-aged man wanted to say something, but he heard the sound of wind whistling in the distance. His expression changed, and he said hurriedly, "Let's go. Now isn't the time to talk. Those people are here again." Lin Fan raised his head and looked. It seemed like he had to warm up from the aura of the evil god servant. But to them, it seemed like he was terrified by this sudden scene. The middle-aged man pulled Lin Fan. Let's go, let's go. Haze. Lin Fan wanted to say that there was no need and that they could just watch him perform. But looking at their terrified expressions, he felt like if he didn't leave with them, they would pee their pants. Lin Fan didn't say anything and just allowed the middle-aged man to pull him forward. After that, a gigantic ancient tree appeared in front of them. There was already someone waiting there. That person's lips moved slightly as if he was chanting an incantation. Immediately, a vortex appeared in front of the ancient tree. It looked more like a door. "Quick, hurry up," the man who was chanting shouted at them. He was anxious and would occasionally look into the distance. Although he couldn't see anything, the pressure was getting closer and closer. Lin Fan was pulled in by the middle-aged man. He suddenly realized that there was a grotto heaven inside. So, it was in a cave. The torches on the walls lit up and chased away the darkness. Everyone sat on the ground and panted. That was close. I didn't expect to meet a patroller. The middle-aged man who had dragged Lin Fan away said with lingering fear. He then looked at Lin Fan. "Hello, I am Dao Gu, the leader here. Where did you come from? What is your name? Why are you here?" Dao Gu asked many questions at once. At the same time, he looked at his companions to tell them to pay attention. After all, it was an emergency, and they didn't investigate his identity before bringing him back. If he had bad intentions, it would be a disaster for them. Lin Fan raised his head and noticed that they were wary of him. He smiled. "Don't be so nervous. I have no ill intentions towards you. I'm just searching for evil gods and pass by." Evil gods seemed to have stepped on their tails and caused their hair to stand on their ends. They looked at Lin Fan warily. If they were worried about his identity before, then now they were even more worried. After all, this involved the evil gods. "Don't look at me like that. I really have no ill intentions. I'm just searching for evil gods to kill them," Lin Fan said. Instantly, the bunch of them were stunned, and then someone couldn't help but burst out laughing. Like he felt that it wasn't good, he waved his hands. "I am sorry, I don't think it's funny. It is just that this is the first time I heard someone say that. Do you know what evil gods are? That's an undying existence. It's not easy for us to survive in the hands of the evil god. We've never thought of killing the evil god. It is okay. Normally no one would believe such things. But why aren't you in the city? Why are you here? I am familiar with City of Hope's Mo Fu. Do you know him?" Lin Fan asked. Dao Gu nodded. "I know City of Hope St. Hall Lord Mo Fu. But we are different from them. They are able to fight against evil gods because they rely on their power. But this power is too unstable. If one day the evil gods that they lend power to become like other evil gods, then they won't be able to block them. And we are hiding here. Through the hard work of countless people, we have developed a new kind of power. We use the power in the world to strengthen ourselves. Although the increase in strength is slow, there will be a day when we can become strong enough to fight against the evil gods. Lin Fan felt like, wasn't this the same as what they cultivated? They didn't need to borrow the power of evil gods to strengthen themselves. But they discovered it late and didn't have a system. One could only say that they were feeling the stones to cross the river and needed the hard work of many predecessors. Lin Fan agreed with their ideals. Mo Fu and the others borrowing the power of evil gods was a little fake and not reliable. Suddenly, someone in the cave exclaimed, "Did any of you see Gute? He doesn't seem to be here." Instantly, everyone was stunned, and then they started a search. But very quickly, someone shouted in terror, "Gute is not here. Did he go out with all of you?" Chapter 603. Lin Fan didn't know who Gute was, but without even thinking, he knew that it was definitely a kid. Based on normal situations, when a team was wiped out, there would often be such a team destroyer. Most of them were girls, and kids were common too. Before Lin Fan's strength reached a certain level, he definitely wouldn't bring girls and kids to adventure. Bringing a creator with him was really dangerous. If he isn't here, then he is definitely outside. But when I went out, I didn't notice him. Why is this kid so disobedient? Dao Gu raged. The situation was so dangerous, and he still didn't listen to orders. Did he really not care about those terrifying people? At that moment, a long-haired woman chanted an incantation. Then, the mysterious power that was drifting in the world gathered together, and a mirror-like surface appeared before her. Scenes of the outside world appeared. "I am searching for him. Let's hope that the patrolman didn't notice him," the long-haired girl said. From her expression, one could tell that she felt that Gute was in trouble. Suddenly, scenes appeared. In the scenes, Gute was running in the forest. Hide quickly." The long-haired girl was worried and then said, "We can save him." The patrolman didn't notice him. "If we are careful, we will definitely be able to save him." Daga got up. "I will go." As long as the patrolman didn't notice him, he had a chance. But shortly after, the long-haired girl said in terror, "Don't go. He's been noticed. The patrolman is following him." Nothing happened at the start, but just now, she saw a reflection on the ground. The patrolman merged with the sky. If the patrolman didn't appear, no one would notice him. Dao Gu kept silent for a moment. No matter what, we have to save him. He is still young, and his future is long. How can he die here? Dao Gu, don't be rash. We can't save Gute. Even if you go out, you will be killed. What is worse is that the patrolman is doing this on purpose to know where we are hiding. Maybe he will kill all of us. Although Gute is young, he knows not to drag us down. The long-haired girl said anxiously. Gute was indeed like that. He didn't run towards the tree. If he was so frightened that he wanted someone to save him, he would definitely run towards the tree. Clearly, he knew that he couldn't implicate everyone, so he wanted to lure the patroller somewhere else. Damn it. Dao Gu powerlessly punched the wall of the cave. He was very unwilling, but he could only stare helplessly at the scene in front of him. At this moment, Lin Fan's palm landed on Dao Ji's shoulder. "Don't despair. We can save him." Although we didn't meet any evil gods, this patrolman definitely has a close relationship with them. Let's start with him. He had originally wanted to kill the other party, but he didn't expect that Doug would drag him here to hide. These people lived hard lives, tiring and painful. Without strength, it was so tragic. It made people speechless. Don't be rash. That is the patroller, the servant of the evil god. He is really terrifying. Unless Mo Fu and the others can kill him. Otherwise, before he could finish his words, he saw the scene in front of him and was completely stunned. Lin Fan raised his hand and tore the dimension apart before walking in. Such a scene was too shocking. Tearing space. Wasn't that a little too terrifying? Outside, Gute couldn't run anymore. He leaned against the tree and held a short sword in his hands. His body shivered and his eyes were filled with fear. When Dao Gu and the others came out, he snuck out, but he didn't expect the patrolman to suddenly appear. As he was too far away, He couldn't catch up to them. He knew that he couldn't let the patrolman notice where they were hiding, so he ran into the distance. It was impossible to escape from the patrolman's line of sight. "Don't come over." Gu Ti's voice was immature, but when he hollered in rage, there was a thread of aura to it. The sound of the wind spread over. The surrounding trees shook. Many trees fell, and a butterfly-like monster appeared in the sky. It then landed slowly. "I didn't expect to meet such fresh blood food here. My luck is not bad." The patrolman gave out a happy laugh. But this laugh seemed to contain some sort of magical power. When it spread into Gu Ti's ears, blood flowed out from his ears. "I can't sense your aura, and can only use my eyes to observe. You have no strength at all, but you can block the evil god energy. Is it because of the clothes you are wearing?" The patrolman asked. This world was covered by the evil god energy. People without strength would be infected by the evil god energy. This small blood food had no strength in his body, but he could block the evil god energy. It definitely had something to do with the eye-catching clothes he was wearing. Gute swallowed his saliva and wanted to retreat, but there was no way out. Because of fear, his legs started to tremble. If not for the tree supporting him, he would have fallen to the ground. "Small blood food, the noble Gouda is asking you a question. Don't you know how to speak?" Gouda asked unhappily. Gute acted like he was strong. "I won't tell you, you evil monsters that occupied my home." The patrolman couldn't stop drooling. Seeing that the small blood food didn't say anything more, he couldn't take it anymore. Then it bent down and opened its bottomless mouth. It covered Gute and wanted to swallow him up. Gute closed his eyes and screamed in panic. He waved the short sword in his hand randomly. However, compared to the patroller's mouth, everything was too insignificant. Suddenly, the patrolman stopped. He sensed a familiar aura. That was the evil god's aura. Was there a noble evil god that passed by and wanted to taste this fresh blood food? In that short moment, the patrolman thought about many things. He felt a little regretful. After all, these were his blood food. Lin Fan appeared above the patrolman's head. He clenched his fingers and then punched. With a pung, he punched the patrolman's head. The ground shook. A deep hole appeared. The patrolman was smashed into the hole. "Kid, this is a rare chance for you. Next time, you won't be so lucky," Lin Fan said. Gute opened his eyes and looked at the scenes in disbelief. He didn't know what had happened. In the hiding spot in the cave, Dauga looked at the situation outside with a stunned expression. What happened? The long-haired girl said slowly, "It seems like the patrolman was defeated. Who is he?" Numerous questions filled their minds. How was there such a terrifying person? At that moment, Lin Fan landed slowly and looked at the patrolman in the hole. He didn't die, and he showed mercy. Otherwise, that fist would have caused him to explode. "Thank you for saving me." Gu Ti's voice was trembling. It was obvious that he hadn't recovered from the fear just now. Lin Fan smiled. "Kid, don't run around in the future. Sometimes, because of one person, everyone will die. Do you understand?" Gute understood Lin Fan's words and nodded his head. That night, no one stayed in the cave and walked out. This was the first time they started a fire outside. Everyone looked at Lin Fan in a different light. At the same time, they knew that this person wasn't from their world. He was from another blood food world. Their world was invaded by evil gods, but they controlled it. Just like what he said when they first met, he came here to take revenge. At the start, they wanted to laugh and felt like he was joking. But now, they understood that he wasn't joking at all. He was talking about a serious matter. Not far away, the patrolman was controlled by Lin Fan and couldn't move at all. He couldn't even make a sound. This was the first time they had such close contact with the patrolman. Some of them took a few more looks and felt terrified. Facing such a terrifying person, maybe they didn't even have the heart to fight him. In front of the fire, Lin Fan stirred the firewood in the fire and then said, "All of you are on the right path, but it is too late. If you want to have the strength to fight evil gods, you will need a long time. Maybe 100, 200 years. But during this period of time, if you aren't careful, all of you will be wiped out. Why don't you head to my world? At least it isn't as dangerous as here." That suggestion caused many of them to look at one another. They felt that it was a good idea. They then looked at Dao Ge. They all listened to Dao Ge. Thank you, but we're staying here to fight evil gods, not only because we want to live, but more importantly, we want this world to return to how it was before. As long as we work hard, then there will be hope. But if we don't work hard, then there will be no hope. Dao Ge kept silent for a long while, and then spoke his true thoughts. The people around nodded their heads in agreement. Dao Ge's words made sense. This was their home, and even if evil gods invaded and they were in danger, as long as there was hope, they wouldn't leave this place easily. Lin Fan didn't say anything more. Since it was their own choice, then he couldn't say anything more. He got up slowly and walked towards the patrolman. Tell me, who is your evil god? Lin Fan asked. The patrolman's body was pressed down by Lin Fan, and he looked at Lin Fan in rage. This is tough. He didn't reply, and Lin Fan didn't have much patience to talk to him. He gathered his sword intent and stabbed the patrolman without saying a word. The patrolman's mouth opened and closed. It was like he was roaring in rage, but because Lin Fan was suppressing it, the sound couldn't spread out. It made one think that the patrolman was really strong and didn't make a sound. Lin Fan frowned and then smiled. You really are strong-willed. He opened his fingers and continued to gather sword intent. He then stabbed the patrolman once more. Those scenes made Dao Ge and the others suck in a deep, cold breath. That was a little cruel. Chapter 604. Is it really that strong? The patrolman bled. If he continued to stab, he would have nearly stabbed him to death. But even then, the patrolman still didn't say who the evil god he followed was. He didn't even answer the first question. It was much more difficult to ask where the evil god was. Dao Ge looked at the patrolman with a weird expression. He noticed that the patrolman's situation wasn't what he thought it was. Did the patrolman say it, but we can't hear it? Dao Ge said what he was confused about. The main reason was that he noticed that the patrolman's mouth was closing and closing. He was saying something quickly, but the weird thing was that there was no sound at all. Even when the sword stabbed in, there was no sound of the wound tearing. That was a little weird. Suddenly, Lin Fan thought about something. I forgot about it. If it wasn't for Doug's reminder, he would have forgotten about a very important matter. He suppressed the patrolman such that not only could he not move, but he couldn't even make a sound. Okay, now speak. You can hear me. It isn't a problem to stab you so many times. I just want you to suffer a little more, and you will know what the outcome is if you aren't honest. Lin Fan said. The patrolman's aura became much weaker. Even his voice became much more normal. You lowly blood food. Lin Fan smiled. He didn't expect the patrolman to be so stubborn. But all of that wasn't important now. What a stubborn fellow. Evil gods can live, but if you die once, you will be gone. Of course, maybe you don't fear death, but what is more terrifying than death is torture. Who knows how long you can last? To the patrolman, he had seen what Lin Fan was capable of. That was just too cruel. He stabbed him just like that without any hesitation at all. Moreover, it was as if he was retarded. He had already begged, and his throat was about to become hoarse, but Lin Fan still stabbed him. He was even more unreasonable than the evil gods. Lin Fan saw that the patrolman was silent and spoke once more. It is okay if you don't say it. There are so many evil gods, and the one you know isn't lacking. But you will definitely suffer unimaginable torture. Even if you are his servant, you have never seen it before. The patrolman looked at Lin Fan. He was going to find the noble evil god. All right then, let him go find it. When he knows how irresistible the power of the evil god is, he will know that everything is just his arrogance. Evil god Jinjalai. I am evil god Jinjalai's servant. The patrolman said slowly. Even Dao Ge and the others who had been living in seclusion here for a long time did not know which evil god this place belonged to. The main reason was that evil gods didn't have a sense of territory. They can go wherever they want. As long as there was blood, there would be evil gods. So it's him. Lin Fan had seen the introduction of this evil god from the book of the evil god. He was ranked 22nd. Based on the strength of the evil gods he had met so far, he should be able to rank 22nd. However, he did not know exactly how strong he was. "Let's go. Bring me to him," Lin Fan said. Then, he looked at the crowd. "Everyone, take care." Dao Ge was stunned. "Are you really going to search for evil gods?" Even if Lin Fan suppressed the patrolman, to them, the patrolman was much weaker than the evil gods. There was no way to compare the two at all. "Of course, I came here to search for evil gods. If they weren't so good at hiding, I would have wiped them all out." Lin Fan knew that his words were a little fake, but he had no choice. No matter what, at least he hadn't fought the strongest evil god before. He could lose anything but his aura. The patrolman kept silent and laughed coldly in his heart. To even say such stupid and arrogant words, it was fortunate that he didn't know how terrifying the strongest evil god was. Dao Ge had nothing to say and didn't know what to say. He wanted to tell him not to think of evil gods so simply. Evil gods were unimaginably terrifying. But thinking about the gap between their strength, it was like heaven and earth. What ability did he have to say all that? In the end, he could only say one sentence. "Be careful." Lin Fan waved his hands and carried the patrolman towards the distance. Even if it was dark, it couldn't stop his determination to find evil gods. "Brother Gu, how is it?" Su Yuanming saw Gu open his eyes and asked right away. The two of them were in the same boat, and they came here to search for a chance to break through to Stage 8. Now that Gyuan ate the evil god's things, he said that he could see the path to Stage 8. However, this was only temporary. If that mysterious person lied to them once more, then they really didn't know what to do. "Improved, I can sense that my cultivation has increased." Joy appeared on Gyuan's face. Although he was still a distance away from Stage 8, at least he saw hope. Then, his expression turned solemn. "We can't let Lin Wani find out about this. Otherwise, with his Stage 7 strength, he would be able to break through to Stage 8 right away." Lin Wani and them were both Stage 7 experts. But even if they were of the same realm, the gap was still huge. "Brother Gu, even if there's a gap, it shouldn't be so exaggerated, right?" Su Yuanming was a little unwilling. They admitted that they weren't as strong as Lin Wani, but it was impossible for the gap to be so huge. Gu Yuan said, "In the past, I didn't agree, but recently, I realized that talent has a huge impact on one's martial path. Lin Wani is a little stronger than us, but it will be magnified many times at Stage 8. No matter what, we have to kill Lin Wani when we break through to Stage 8. If not, if he finds out about the method, then we will still be suppressed." Su Yuanming kept silent for a moment and asked, "What about Lin Fan?" Gu Yuan looked at Su Yuanming and blinked like he was asking him not to mention him. My head hurt. In terms of what they couldn't understand, it was still Lin Fan. This fellow was just unreasonably strong. If they went all out in Great Sun Buddhist sect, even if Lin Wani was here, he would have died. But this kid was too terrifying, and it was tough to deal any damage to him. Forget it. Let's not talk about this kid. The more we talked, the more uncomfortable we felt. Insect Valley. Technique Teaching Hall Elder Zhuo Lai came to the Valley Head's room and said respectfully, "Valley Head, I have investigated. Monster Emperor left this place and went to a world that we don't know about." "Kachi." The door slowly opened and Valley Head walked out expressionlessly. He passed Zhuo Lai and didn't stop. He continued to walk into the distance. "Follow me." Zhuo Lai followed behind. He knew that the place he was heading to next was the most mysterious place in Insect Valley. Apart from him and the Valley Head, no one else knew. Insect Valley had long moved away from its original place. Logically speaking, how could such a mysterious Insect Valley fear others? But there was nothing he could do. Lin Fan was too crazy and the Valley Head was afraid that he would find them. Why did he have to make things difficult for himself? Thus, he just moved away in case he created more problems for himself. The two of them passed through a mist. This mist was formed by numerous bugs that couldn't be seen by the naked eye. If outsiders stepped in, they would instantly die. Just as they passed through the mist automatically opened up a path for the two of them to pass. Not long later, the two of them stopped outside a cave. The door was tightly shut, and there was a picture on it that looked similar to 9 demon. It had 9 heads, and each head had a long, curved horn growing out of it. It looked even more overbearing and majestic than Nine Demon. Zhualai took in a deep breath. Although he had come here before, each time he came, he would be covered by the aura of this place. It made him feel a little terrified. It was as if there was something unimaginable hidden behind the door. "Valley Head, is it time?" Zhualai asked. "Yes," Valley Head said. Then, the Valley Lord walked to the stone door. In the middle of the stone door, there was a circular hole. The Valley Lord put his arm in, and suddenly there was a cracking sound. It was as if there was something inside the hole that had locked onto his arm. Valley Head's originally red face slowly turned ashen white. He lost large amounts of blood. The stone door was like a living thing. When the withered meridians absorbed enough blood, they appeared on the surface of the stone door. They were densely packed like vines. Zhualai held his breath, and his expression was really solemn. In the past, they always stood at the door and never entered. When he saw this, he panicked a little. After a long while, Valley Head became much thinner, and his skin became even drier. But to Valley Head, his body wasn't that important right now. He stared at the stone door and waited for it to open. With a kacha, the stone door slowly opened. The moment it opened, an aura that had been suppressed for a long time spread out and covered the two of them. There was a rotten smell. There was also an ancient smell. Zhualai's body shuddered. Unlike the excited Valley Head, he was filled with fear. It was as if he was about to face something unknown, and it made him panic. "Let's go in," Valley Head said. He slowly stepped into the darkness. He felt like something was calling out to him. This was an Insect Valley secret that had existed for a long time. A secret that had existed since he entered Insect Valley. In the past, his position in Insect Valley wasn't high, and he didn't know about this. But when he reached the peak, he found out about Insect Valley's biggest secret. Generations after generations had been guarding this secret. Today, when it reached his generation, the secret could finally be opened. Zhualai and him were the witnesses to this secret. The deepest part of the cave, a giant deep hole appeared in front of the two of them. Maybe because it was too long ago, this place was really desolate like a wasteland. But he knew. The secret was hidden deep in the hole. Zhualai's breathing became rushed. The moment the stone door opened, he was nervous. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.